this is a fun one when we have guests who can come on and talk about their projects.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yep, 100%. Get his website up.
He looks familiar looking at the About page,
Yeah.
so I think I've met him. Yep.
Can you hear both of us? That's good to hear. That's good to hear. That's what I wanted to hear.
Hi, welcome back to Gamescape 3D. Today we're going to do a speed paint of one of our little peasant houses to show how easy these things are to paint.
How's everyone doing there?
Here's the peasant house I have paint today. It has been
one issue
primered
here.
black. Okay, so we're all ready to go. So I got about 3 minutes into it so far. We got the base, we got the roof, and then we have a few smaller components. I have flat boards here for the loft, and then I got a little
Streamlabs is up.
Little itty bitty window parts there. And then I have a hood for the flue up on the roof, and this could be resin printed or FDM printed. And then lastly, we have a little ragtag door to put on the front with a filament hinge. All right. In terms of prepping the model, sometimes these little holes where the filament's supposed to run through can get clogged up on your resin doors. Sometimes the resin will just settle in there when it's washing out and kind of harden. Sometimes with these doors, it might just be a little off.
Trying to make sure we're all good here. Hey, Phantom, what's up?
You can use a drill bit. 5/64 is the size you need to clean out those holes. So if I have a door there, I might just
Things are good here, everyone. Good to see you all.
So we got those holes cleaned out. Should be plenty of room now for our filament, and we will continue on. All right, the first thing I'm going to be doing is applying brown onto the timber frames. And I'm going to use a pretty good sized brush. I don't care about getting brown everywhere for this first part. In fact, it's preferred. So there's my brown again, kind of on the lighter side of a mid-tone. Now I don't want to use so much brown that I'm filling in the details, of course. And if some of the black primer comes through, that's all the better. You definitely don't want to
make sure that's all good.
Waste your time creating an even coat around this. It'll actually take away from it in the end. And it's kind of just a waste of time. You can go do something else. Do make sure you kind of hit the tops and the bottoms of your timbers. Okay? Don't just paint the face of these things, because you're not going to be coming back later to hit these sides. This is kind of the last time they should be getting painted, unless you absolutely have to come back in to do a little touch-up. Okay.
Hey Lando, how you doing?
See, I'm just kind of.
You're doing okay.
No special care being taken to keep the wood color off of the plaster parts, or to apply this wood color to the plaster parts with any particular intention. And I might glaze over these and let some of those black timber lines come through, you know, kind of dry brush it a little bit as opposed to like a straight paint job. And I might do it both ways. Sometimes
And I know you're probably out and about walking on
a little bit, and sometimes I might just kind of
yesterday. We had a crazy game yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, I was trying to
walk it off.
Stretch my leg. Yeah,
So I don't
stretch
blame
my
you.
legs a bit. Yeah,
I don't blame you at all.
So you want to avoid.
At
I hope it was good. Yeah,
Oh, it was crazy.
you got some good weeks now with lots of
different amounts
of streams
different
almost
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, I'm
know,
trying
kinda
to
create a little
keep
bit of
things
your
rolling here.
shimmer.
You know.
Mhm.
in the
So-
end. Okay. So finish that up. Okay, so no big deal there, huh? It's about 2 minutes or so, maybe 3.
Still looking for him.
We are done with our first part here. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. We're gonna go over to the roof now. When we come back, we'll do the inside. I could do the ground right now too. That's a pretty similar color. It's not gonna hurt anything.
Here comes Jason.
I'm not particularly
All right, you can just-
certain it matters.
All right,
Maybe
guest is
ground
coming
after
on.
the walls or before, since I'm gonna be,
Hey, Jason.
Greetings. You guys hear me
putting
okay?
down as
Oh,
well.
loud and clear.
But I'm just gonna
You
Great,
know Anna
great.
Meyer, the legendary Anna Meyer?
I'm not sure I'm so legendary, but
I
Well-
think we have met once or twice.
that's what I think
convention.
too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
when I saw your face on the about page, you saw your picture on the about page, I realized I've probably seen you, and the name's familiar too. So yeah,
Yeah, I think we've met at a convention once or twice to roll or games.
Definitely
Yep,
Gary Con.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep. Gary Con, if nothing else. Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know. So two things. First of all, this is a brand new webcam on my computer, so hopefully everything
Looks
It
crystal
looks
clear.
great.
Looks
Yep.
crystal clear.
I have a very mischievous cat who
Oh, that's okay.
sometimes likes to unplug my computer. So if I disappear,
Oh,
just
well-
bear with me. I'll be
No
back.
No
Right.
problem.
Okay.
Trust me, you've never seen Roger Moore on a stream where he has 10
Oh, yeah.
cats all over top
It's
of him.
cat,
So
cat butts
yeah,
and
so-
all that coming and going. I have a little Chico, my little puppy here. So yeah,
right, let me s-
he's not that mischievous on camera though. When I sit here, he's happy. So yeah.
Yeah, you probably won't see the
Hey,
cat.
Curtis.
You'll know he's here if he unplugs my computer.
Yeah, the chew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on. It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
I tried to reaching out to Chuck today, but he never responded. So I don't know what's going on with him.
I have no idea. I know he's crazy busy lately. He's had some health problems, and he's
Yep.
been
Sure.
super busy. So
Yeah, he always busy with lots of. He had his head in and hands in so many things. So yeah.
Charm Dynasty, thank you very much. I'll re-announce your raid in a second once we come live here. Yep. Good to see you. Hang out for a sec, please.
now, Jay, I assume if there's questions or something, you'll read them because I can't actually see.
Yeah, no problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
you can log into chat too if you want to on Lord Gussup on
Yeah, on Twitch if you want. It's no big deal. I got it. Trust me. We've dealt with Rob Coots and all the other, and Ed rarely comes on the chat too. So we're good. We're good. Don't worry.
We have the chat, so if someone asks questions, we can. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. You're gonna see my son in the background. He's my backup side computer's bjorked.
Hey.
Yeah, what do you think's up with that, dude? No, that was weird. Okay. Alrighty. Another Gabbin night. Let's have some fun with this discussion. Episode 331, Anna.
Oh wow. How many have I been on 200 of them?
Oh, no, you've been on 300 of them.
Oh wow.
Just remember, we met, I think when I did number 15, I think.
Okay, yeah,
We
you
did
just started
Heartbeat,
with the
yeah.
Gabbins. Yeah, we just done a few Gabbins when I started joining the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like 6 years ago now or something.
it has been. It's been 6 years.
Yeah.
There is sound. All right. Look at that. 6:57. We'll come on a couple minutes early because we always have some fun things and to go over like usual. And we'll see my son in his pajamas in the background here. To just ignore the man and ignore the man behind the curtain, right? Isn't that weird? It's strange. Like something happened. right, here we come. Coming live. All righty. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Like I said, ignore the man in the red outfit behind me there. He's doing something. So he'll be gone in a second. I'm J.K. Lorgazumba. With me, as always, my partner in crime, Anna Meyer. We got a great special guest tonight.
Yep.
Done a lot. Has really has a ton of accomplishments, and let's discuss them. And I just want to chat about gaming and D&D with him tonight. So Jason Vey with Lair Games, and also working for Troll Games, and probably a lot of other things I don't even know about. Jason, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to tell people I'm the most successful game designer you've never heard of.
There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. We're going to be scrolling. I don't have live stuff scrolling through, but we're going to, for a lot, I'm just going to press a button here. We're going to go right to your website. We'll talk. Awesome. Thanks, man. Shut the door for you. Thank you very much. My son's awesome. So let me set the giveaway up. Jason is kind enough to give us a double giveaway here, and I'm going to click on that for the, look at that. It's not even on the screen, for the Charm Fantasy raid-in. Thank you, everyone. Let me set this up now so you guys can all hit in the exclamation point drawing. You know, you'd think I'd have my routine down after 6 years. There we go. Okay. So, we'll talk about that, but we're going to have a hard copy set and a PDF set of that, and we'll get to what actually it entails in our discussion. But I want to start at the beginning, Jason. Like, when did you start playing? For me, I was 11 years old, man. It was 1978. Like, when did you
I was 5 years old. It was 1979.
Wow. 5 years old.
That we started the same year.
1979 with AD&D First Edition.
There you go.
My uncle John was in high school at the time, and him and his high school buddies used to play AD&D, and they played OD&D first, of course, because 79 was right around when AD&D was first coming out.
Yeah.
But my parents were in a bowling league at the time, and they used to drop up me and my sister off at my grandparents' house for babysitting while they went bowling, and I would end up sitting with my uncle and his buddies down in the basement, and I learned how to play AD&D.
Wow.
And yeah. Now, funny fact about that is about, I guess about 17, 18 years later, I ended up working for the University of Pittsburgh. And who does it turn out runs the copy center down there? But my uncle's best friend from high school, who was his DM. So my very first dungeon master, ran
that's
the
awesome.
copy center for my first, I guess, kind of my first career job. So yeah.
That's cool, man. It's like it's a small world, you know. It's and you find exactly, Darko. You find out like people, like a lot of people I didn't know played. Like the funny story is, you know who Alan Growy, the Grow Dog. He lived like 6 miles from me growing up. I never met him until like 10 years ago. You know, we lived in South Jersey together and just never knew that we were that close to each other.
Yeah.
It's funny, but really.
Are you still in South Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I'm 6 miles from Philly. Yeah, I'm in Gloucester County.
I've been to Jersey many times. My aunt, I don't know if you guys remember the rock band Trickster from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
My aunt, who is my aunt on my mom's side, the sister of my uncle that taught me to play D&D, is really good friends with those guys.
Did they tour with Don't Call Me Francis?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they did.
Their big tour in the late 80s, early 90s, their biggest one was with Firehouse and Warrant.
That's it. Okay, Firehouse.
Yeah, Firehouse and Warrant. But
nice.
I mean, they're still out there doing their thing. At least PJ and Steve are, and I've been to Jersey to hang out with them a bunch of times.
Cool.
Very, very cool guys. And then my family has a condo in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
Yep.
So
not far.
We're constantly taking the ferry over to Cape May.
Wu-Tang, you lived in Pittman? My God, you know that's like 3 miles from where I live right now. That's nuts, man. Back in the 80s, 90s. Yeah, it's a small world, man. It's really small. So, are you coming to Page?
Yes, I am going to be at Page.
Good.
There you go.
I'll be there with
Me too.
There you go, man. All right. Well, we're going to have a whole fun time because Chuck's like, can we play in your house, in your basement? Finally, I want to be there in person. I said, well, you got to get here Wednesday night, Chuck, because I'm DMing starting Thursday night. He's like, oh, okay.
I know. I'm running, I don't know how many. I'm running several slots. I don't have my schedule yet, but I'm running several slots of Amazing Adventures there.
You will,
and
Michael.
I think I'm going to be on some panels, but Chuck has yet to give me my full schedule, so.
It's Chuck. Look. Troll Lord has been so kind to us, right, Anna? Over,
Hmm.
unbelievably in the
Yep.
4.5 years of the sponsorship, it's been fantastic. And like last Thursday, I had my 3-year partner anniversary stream, and Chuck really stepped up. It's been, yeah, Chuck, where is he? I don't know. I sent him. He's probably all excited. Dallas actually won a game. Sorry, I'm busting his
Yeah,
stones
the
now, but
Steelers are getting their butts kicked right now, so you kind of took me away from that one
yeah,
mercifully.
but Uh, yeah, I will never. I made him. I'll tell this funny story. It's not funny to Jason, but I'll tell this funny story. A couple of years ago, I tried to bust his stones about Sidney Crosby at Gary Con, and I kind of felt bad when I did it. He's a legend because I'm a Flyer guy.
Yeah.
Crosby hates the Flyers, so. But
The thing is, I hate the Flyers, but I don't hate the Eagles except when they're playing the
which
Steelers.
is right now. It's
Right, right.
27-13 last time I checked.
My dream is for one day for there to be an all Pennsylvania Super Bowl. I want it to be
It
Steelers Eagles.
almost was in 2004.
Yeah, it
Got
came
2004,
close.
5 years.
And I
Yeah,
think and I think if it ever happens, it doesn't matter where the Super Bowl was supposed to be held. It should be held in Central PA
State
State
College.
Stadium. Yeah, college.
It's a good idea, man. Really good. Ah, memories. So you're playing at 5 years old, which is amazing. I know Tim started. My buddy Edward Mysterious Tim started 77. Like so was it Holmes Basic or OD&D?
When
Like your
I
guys,
started,
yeah, you were playing
I
AD,
started
but your
with it
guys,
was AD&D. My
okay,
guys were I'm pretty sure OD&D.
OD. They weren't even okay. They were
Yeah.
playing the old
My uncle
white ones.
claims that somewhere in the attic at the house where he grew up is his old white box. Um, he claims it's there, but I don't know. Someday I'm gonna go there.
Start a watch.
My aunts, two of my aunts have the house now that both of my grandparents are no longer with us. I'm gonna make them like get me up there, and I'm gonna go look for his old D&D stuff.
Yeah.
So I raided my wife's brother's stash because he rarely played. He had two Deities and Demigods books, but they were all without the Cthulhu. I'm like, damn! They were
I
the
have the
128
second
page
printing,
versions.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're like that's like fifth printing. Yeah,
I have the Cthulhu right there.
yeah. I got a perfect condition first edition one, but and I like tell my guys don't touch on the shelf. Don't touch that one. And, you know
My
how it
prized
is.
possession actually is I have a fifth print white box.
Oh,
It
nice.
was the last printing that had hobbits and ents in it, and it's in
That's
near
right.
mint
A
condition.
lot of people don't realize that they were worried and they had to switch them, and that's what
Yeah,
to tree ents and halflings.
yeah,
The slur version of a hobbit technically is a halfling, right?
yeah.
Just yeah, lots of great stories.
In Wasted Lands, I call them Florin after the real world hobbit, which was Homo
Oh,
But
the
florensis.
yeah,
Florences. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 it's a really cool story on them. They think that they were around a lot later than actually. They said 20,000, but now they're saying as early as like 3 to 4,000 when the
Well,
pyramids were
yeah, they
built.
were
They were
probably like
around.
the last
Oh
mammoths
my
that
God,
were
raids are coming like
isolated on an
crazy.
island and became
yeah,
small and persisted long after because probably they couldn't grow big because probably they were
Small
lacking
island.
food,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
also didn't have any intruders from the outside, so they could linger on longer than others. Yeah.
right, right. So I took that name for my halfling races in Wasted Lands.
Very, very cool. And
That's
we're
awesome.
gonna get to everything. I don't even know where to start. So let's start with you're playing. You're in college. I'm assuming you're playing what at that time, second or third edition D&D at that time.
Actually, so I started with AD&D, and
Thanks,
then I
Josh.
didn't play D&D for a number of years. I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness a
Okay.
lot. I played some Twilight 2000.
Oh, I love that game.
Um,
Hmm.
I got really hardcore into Palladium in the early mid 80s. I played Palladium Fantasy, I played Rifts, I played um, uh, Beyond the Supernatural, Heroes Unlimited. We used to take Heroes Unlimited, Mystic China, Ninjas and Super Spies, TMNT, and Beyond the Supernatural, and just play them all as one big game.
Okay.
So I was really, really into Palladium, which is actually where I got my start in professional game writing.
Oh,
And then
wow. Okay.
when I was probably around 17, 18, no, it was when I was about 16 or 17. I was in high school and I fell in with a group of guys that played AD&D second edition. And then that's where I got back into AD&D. and played that for years.
Okay.
And as much as people love to get down on THAC0 and
Hey,
get
Patrick.
down on how they sanitized D&D in second edition, I got to tell you, some of my best gaming memories were with second edition AD&D. I mean, it was just fun to play. It was so flavorful. I loved the way it felt. I don't know. I loved second ed. And I know that's blasphemy in some
No,
old school
but yeah,
circles, man, but
Jason,
I
I
loved
play
it.
1E2E to this day, man. That's all I
Yeah.
do. I mean, and custom classes, elementalists, wild mages, specialty
Kits,
priests.
dude, I loved kits. I
Oh my
absolutely
God.
loved kits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, and that's why, Anna, what do you call my system? 1 point, yeah.
well, 1 J.
Right,
Yeah,
but it is 1E2E.
One
And
point
yeah,
J.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. I like it.
1 J. Yeah.
I have 43 custom classes,
Yeah, we talked about rule systems one in the day, and we talked about Pathfinder being 3.75, and I said then J must play 1 J then. Yeah.
Agreed, Mike. Yeah, so I never went away. Third edition, I incorporated feats into the proficiency system, but not all of them. Key ones that we like to mess around with, we play test them and all. And I'll take good ideas. I think it sounds like you're in that realm. Like, man, I want to play a game that's fun, good, and I'm gonna create my own rules. And that's why
I'm also into rules light. I like
Yep.
rules systems that play fast and simple and just get the hell out of the way so that you can focus on playing your character and telling a good story with your
Yeah,
friends. I don't
absolutely.
like I'm not into simulationist gaming. I'm not into a lot of crunch. But I play with people who are,
Hmm.
and I firmly believe that if you have a good GM, just about any game can be fun.
Hmm. It's interesting for me. I've evolved as a gamer. I had
Hmm.
my simulation, this deep, super crunchy period and stuff, but I've evolved, and now I'm making my own version of D&D too. I call it Hawk Tales, just for my own use, so to speak. And I will release it as a free on my website so anybody can use it. But it's
Nice.
kind of, I base it on 5e math, but it's 3E depth, but I try
Yeah.
to really simplify it. Really
Okay.
simplify it. I'm taking classes out. I'm stripping a lot of the difficult stuff out of it. So I try
Sort of
to,
like Shadow Dark did for 5e.
Yeah.
yeah, in a
Really
way,
stripped
yeah.
it back. Yeah.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to strip a lot of the complexity out of it, but I still want to have depth. It's almost impossible, but I try to have idea. It's like I want the combat round to be quick. You can do one thing, you can attack, or you can do something else, so to
Right.
speak. That's it every round, and so I don't want any bonus actions, swift actions, double actions, and all that
Yeah, the
difficulty.
Thanks,
action
Keith.
economy. Yeah, since
Yeah.
third edition, really, the action economy resource management has gotten to be
Yeah,
just a
but it
headache.
depends. Some people love the tactical game. Meaning the Pathfinder crew, they have the third three action economy. And
Yeah.
if you're into the tactical playing with miniatures, I can understand it's awesome.
Yep.
And now with VTTs too, but I want to simplify it. I want to make that part simplified, just to run it quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because I'm into rules light gaming and streamlined play doesn't mean that everybody has to be. There's
Yeah.
people out there that love the heavy.
Yeah.
There's still people out there that think Rollmaster is like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the epitome of game, and that's great. If that's
Well, yeah. Yeah.
if that's your gig and that's what you like to play, go for it.
Yeah, that's part of the fun now that there are games for almost every flavor, meaning you
Yeah.
can play fantasy in almost every way, shape, and form in so many different ways, and also many different rules, but there are also different ways of playing online, in person, and so on. So yeah.
In fact, I have a new product coming out fairly soon. I'm waiting for hardcover proofs to come in, and then I'm going to release it. At least on Drive Through RPG. I don't know what I'll do for print yet, but a number of years ago, my wife saw this meme online, which I'm sure a bunch of people have seen, and I am 110% positive I'm not the only one that's done this. But this meme said, it was just words, and it said, "I want someone to design a game whose attributes are, oh crap, I'm forgetting all of the
It's okay.
words.
No
But
problem.
it's gumption, moxie, cut of my jib, childlike wonder, and a certain je ne sais quoi. And they said they wanted somebody to design. It was a joke meme. I want somebody to design an all role playing game with those attributes. My wife came to me and went, "I want you to make me this game." So I did, and I put it out years ago. And you can get the original version, and it's a complete. it's written like a complete joke, but the system is very robust and solid. And it's called Chutzpah, a certain je ne sais quoi, and you can get it on my
Cool.
Lulu page. But I've cleaned that up and taken out some of the mean snark that I had in there and cleaned it up a little bit. And I'm releasing it as I call it the CD8 system, and I'm releasing it as
Oh wow.
CD8 Fantasy, and it's
Cool.
a basic die pool system. You build
Yeah.
a die pool out of your stat and skills, and you throw a bunch of D8s, and you look for successes, which we call fist bumps.
Dark Elf says it was being shown on Tumblr of all places. I
What?
remember that.
Chutzpah.
Yeah, that's what Dark Elf Twilight says. It was being shown
Oh,
all
you
over Tumblr.
The
Is that-
meme?
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't do Tumblr, so it's very possible. Cool, and that's going to be available
Soon.
Soon, got
Soon.
it. All right.
It's done, so I can announce that it is done and will be
the game
released.
about the meme. All right,
But I don't have
I got you.
I don't have a specific release date yet.
Okay.
Like I said, I ordered some hard copy proofs of it, and it'll probably be released first as a PDF on drive-through
Mhm.
while I save up the money to do a small print run of it.
Okay.
And it's a complete role-playing game in 32 pages,
No, nice,
and it's gonna retail in print for like $11.99.
beautiful.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Still
awesome.
working. All right, so you're working for Palladium. What year is that roughly?
I published an article and short story in
No
their
wonder.
Rifter number. I'm looking at it right now, number 16.
Okay.
And that was around 98 or 99. And based on the strength of that article, Kevin Ciambita asked me to do a full Nightbane source book. It was an article for their Nightbane role-playing game. So I did that whole thing and turned it in around 2000. I'm not going to get into the details here because it's all water under the bridge, and the hatchet has been well buried. But that whole thing did not end well with Palladium.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
If you really want to research it, you can dig online. I'm sure the information's still out there. But
You do have an About Us page 2 here. I'm trying to bring that up.
I ended up not working for Palladium, and the way that whole thing went badly, I almost quit game design altogether.
Oh, wow.
I was
That's
so
no fun.
devastated about the way that whole thing ended. But then I had a fan website up I had fallen in love with the Unisystem from Eden Studios at the time. Specifically, this was right when Buffy the Vampire Slayer was about to come out. But I was really into witchcraft and All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and I put up a fan website for that company. And Derek Stolting, who was one of their convention managers at the time, had seen it, and he brought my fantasy rules to the attention of George Vasilakos and Alex Jerkott, and they contacted me and invited me to write a source book for All Flesh Must Be Eaten. And between that, and I have to give a shout out to people, Steve Trustrom, who runs Misfit Games,
Okay.
and Bill Coffin, who also used to work for Palladium, who is pretty well known in the industry. Both of them called me on the phone after things went bad with Palladium to talk to me and tell me not to quit and tell me to keep going and tell me they had both been on the outs with Palladium and had very similar stories to mine at the time. And Steve, God bless him, we haven't talked for quite some time, but he called me on his own. This was before you had cell phones with, just hours and minutes and
Right.
limited. He called me on a landline from Canada on his own dime and talked to me for 2 hours on international calls just to tell me, don't quit, keep going. You're
Wow.
good. Yeah. So those two kind of got me out of the funk of I'm not going to do this anymore. And then on the heels of that, thanks to Derek and George and Alex, I started doing the work for Eden Studios, and that's what kept me going. So
that was like early
That's great.
2000s. Early 2000s.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, early 2000s. Yeah.
It's cool. You work in so many genres, not only
Yeah, all
fantasy.
over.
I mean, you've
Absolutely.
done and I can see something called parsecs. That sounds very
13
sci-fi and stuff.
parsecs.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
get
so
to that
you
stuff.
it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Wait till you
No,
wait,
yeah,
wait till
yeah.
you see all the
It-
content on the site. There's all different genres, all different.
And That's the leather.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Copy.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I've been
It's the
shouting
same
this
copy.
out. I've been pressing this button multiple times. This is the shout out for Jason's. The store is 40% off, everyone. Off everything right
All the way
now.
through the end of December, if you use the code holiday sale at
Yep.
checkout,
Yep.
everything in the store is 40%
Everything.
off.
So
I'm also running a 40% off sale on drive-through. So if you prefer PDFs, all my stuff should be 40%. Should be if the sale worked right. Should be 40% off there.
should I ask that now, Rob? Phantom NJ Robert Kropnukui. I'm assuming you remember Robert
Yeah, I know
from
Rob.
yeah.
Yeah,
Rob
yeah,
asks, and we'll jump ahead. 13 parsecs is dedicated to who? He said, ask.
yeah. Jim Ward. 13 Parsecs is dedicated
All
to
right,
Jim.
Okay.
Anna, I'm gonna shock you with something. I'm
Uh-oh.
gonna shock you too. I have this in print.
After I heard
No.
Rob Kuntz and
I got-
a few things can shock me.
I'm at the
so-
Days of Nights in Delaware 2 months ago, and I'm always finding gems, hidden gems, because they got so much shit there. Right? If you've ever been to that store, it's been there since 1985. It's on
Where in
University
Delaware is that?
University of Delaware campus, Newark,
Okay,
Delaware.
so that's probably pretty far from Rehoboth.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half from Rehoboth, but
okay.
you should go there once. You should, because it's just amazing how much stuff is there. I mean, I bought like a Dragon 1 there, a Dragon 3, crazy, stuff back in the day. It's not too bad, Alex. You got to know where to look. So I found this, and I was like, I never heard of this. I always am there, and I called Chuck. I said, Chuck, what the hell is this? He goes, oh my God, that's out of print. It's not even available on PDF on our site anymore. This is written by Jim Ward and Jason Vey.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so
elemental
so,
spells.
and I'm
yeah.
very proud. I'm very proud to have my name on that. But I will clarify. That's pretty much written by Jim Ward.
Okay.
The thing is, when Jim turned over his manuscript, it was all written like for an OD&D supplement.
Okay.
And Steve came to me, and when I can't publish a book full of OD&D spells, I need you to take all these spells and put them into Castles and Crusades format. So my work on that was largely some rules balance issues and formatting the spells.
Still, I mean, to have your name
Yeah,
on
really
it, Jim
proud.
Ward.
Like a
I mean, my
editor.
gosh. Yeah, I mean, that's so
super proud to
awesome.
have my name on that, yeah.
So I got
That's
this for
great.
face value at $14.99. There's no tax in Delaware, so it's like, oh.
Jim was such a great guy, man.
He was.
And I talk about this, the prologue for 13 Parsecs talks about Jim.
Cool.
It's a one-page, like I say in there, I'm not a eulogist, but I talk about Jim that I knew, and I considered him a friend. There are a lot of people out there who knew him way, way, way better than me, but we talked a lot. We spent time together at conventions. We talked a lot online. He was constantly giving me advice and offering me his ear when I needed a sounding board. At one point in time, I was trying to do a fiction magazine that was going to be modeled after the old pulps, and Jim submitted a story for it that was going to be in there. It fell through, so I gave him his story back. I don't know what the fate of that was, but he and I talked many, many times about working together, and he was supposed to work with me on 13 Parsecs, and then he passed away. So
was that an ode to Starship Warden?
What, 13 Parsecs?
Yeah, like in that space genre.
I wouldn't
style.
say that the game is an ode to Starship Warden. No.
No. Okay.
The game is 13 Parsecs. It was originally going to be called 12 Parsecs for the obvious Star Wars reference, but
Right.
a couple people beat us to the punch on that and released. There's a company called 12 Parsecs that releases like T-shirts and stuff like that, and it just other people were using it. So 13 Parsecs became kind of an in-house joke. Well, we can't call it 12 Parsecs. Let's call it 13 Parsecs. But the more I threw the term around, I mentioned Derek Stolting before from Eden Studios. Him and Tim Brannon from Eden Studios. The three of us worked together for years there. And while they are not technically members or employees of Elf Lair Games, I consider them kind of silent partners. We've been together. We call ourselves the Cabal. We've been together for, 25 years now. Their opinions mean a great deal. Derek and Tim both have mini settings in 13 Parsecs. So
Fantastic.
we talk a lot, and they're great sounding boards and helps to me. So the more we threw around 13 parsecs, the three of us, the more we liked it, and it just kind of stuck. Um,
So Tim, I know Tim was trying to be on the same night tonight because we had Tim on about a month and a half ago for his witches and warlocks and things.
yeah,
We really wanted to talk about that during the Halloween
he loves his
episode.
witches.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's a great class. I use his first edition witch book as a class in my game with some minor, very small tweaks, but that's the
Yeah,
one we use. We come out with Dragon 106s, right,
yeah,
and have
yeah.
made up a really nice class. Um, did you meet did you like? Oh my God, Tim, the guy who worked on Buffy, right? Because he worked on Buffy the Vampire Slayer's game.
So did I. We both worked on it
Oh,
together.
cool,
Yeah,
excellent.
we met. So I met Derek first. Well, yeah, I met Derek first. Because again, Derek was he basically ran Eden Studios GM convention GM crew. So
Okay,
if you were going to run games for Eden at conventions, you ran them through Derek. We got to be really, really good friends, and he's kind of the one that hooked me up with the company. And then Tim, I got to know in his old web warlock persona on online back in the day through Eden's message boards. And then we got to hanging out at conventions, and got to know each other there, and again became really good friends. And like I said, the three of us, we worked on. I did my work on the Buffy game was limited, very limited. A little bit of ghost editing here and there, some rules tweaks, stuff like that. But um, we did work together on Army of Darkness. We did work together
oh cool.
on, it never came out, but we did some work on Beyond Human, which was supposed to be Eden's
Man,
superhero.
that was one season, right?
Yeah.
That and it had freaking what's his, oh my God, my brain just shut off.
The game was not based on that show.
No, it wasn't. Oh
No, no,
man.
no, no. The game was just, it was way before that show, actually. It was just going to be Eden's superhero role-playing game.
Okay.
And then we did some work on Eden's City of Heroes role-playing game, which was based on the MMO, which never came out, but which was so much fun to play. It's a real bummer that those two games didn't come out. But yeah, we worked on just across the board stuff for Eden together, the three of us. And we always used to talk about wanting to have our own game company together. So as soon as I got Elf Lair Games running as a company, I immediately contacted Tim and Derek and said, "Hey, I can't pay you guys. I can't make you employees, but if you want to have a role in this, please." And both of them were like, "Yes, absolutely." And I pay them for their freelance work that they
Sure.
do for me. But
Brevin Dark still just asked if it was that working with Jamie Chambers? And I guess the question is
Jamie Chambers, I
regarding
know
Buffy.
Jamie.
Okay.
I like Jamie. He's a great guy. But no, he never worked with Eden Studios.
Okay.
Um, that I know of. Not that I know of.
Okay.
I knew him through Margaret Weiss Productions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jamie used to work on. They did the Sovereign Stone RPG, and then they did the third edition version of Dragonlance. They did the Firefly and Serenity RPG. Um, Jamie did their system was the Cortex system. Excuse me,
It's okay.
their system
Okay.
was the Cortex system, and Jamie did a core rulebook for that. He's a good guy. Now I think he does like some 5e stuff, like adventure modules and stuff like that on his own.
Phew, man, just amazing.
Mhm.
You're intertwined in a community, which it sounds like you probably have learned a lot from a lot of different people and picked
Not the
all the
least of which, not the least of which, and I'm sure we'll get there, will be Steve Chenault.
oh yeah,
Yes.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. All right, so at some point you say I got to do this on my own. Now, did Troll Lord come before, during, or after that? Was it
Before.
before?
So I
Okay,
was working for Eden,
okay,
and after the Buffy license ended, Eden just kind of slowed down. They're still out there. They still exist, but the company's kind of in limbo, I guess, right now.
okay,
George owns a gaming store called Zombie Planet in Albany, and that's really his bread and butter. So his focus, I think, really is on Zombie Planet. There's been a
okay.
couple attempts to bring All Flesh Must Be Eaten back. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but what happened was much like what happened with Eden when Castles and Crusades came out. I had a fan website up, for CNC. And that fan website had a whole bunch of house rules and, you know, ideas and new character classes and whatnot on there. And I became friends with their with Troll Lord's tech guy, whose name was Jason Alexander, not the actor, um, whose screen name was Break Daddy, which everybody knew him by. Um, we became friends online, and he introduced me to Steve. And Steve was the first publisher to give me the opportunity to do a core rule book as opposed to a source book for one of their games, and that was Amazing Adventures.
Right. Let me
So
put that up.
at the time, I was freelancing for both Trollord and Eden, um, and eventually I just work from Eden just slowed down to a crawl, and work from Trollord was coming more and more, and I just eventually ended up being a staff writer for Trollord. Now it was around what happened with Lair was I got involved in the ODD 74 Pro Boards community, which if anybody is into the early history of Dungeons and Dragons, original Dungeons and Dragons, and you want an amazing community of people to talk to, ODD 74 on Pro Boards is just, those guys are the
Wow.
coolest people. I got to know Dave Arneson there on that just through chatting online before he passed away. They've had a number of the old John Peterson, who wrote Playing at the World and a number of other books, is a regular poster on ODD 74.
Is the site still up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm there every day.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's a great community. So what happened was early on in that site, there was just a lot of scholarship going on of people going. Now, anybody who's read the white box D&D rules, or brown box as it may be, knows that they reference chainmail a lot in there, but they never tell you what they mean by referencing chainmail. You know, there were some kind of nebulous guideline articles that Gary put out in the early Strategic Review and Dragon magazines, but there was just a lot of back and forth, and we started working on ideas of how were you supposed to use chainmail for the combat for Dungeons and Dragons, because that's what those books tell you to do. Now, it came out later that none of the guys from TSR ever actually did that. They were just trying to sell copies of chainmail. They always used the D20 combat system from the start, but still, it got all of us going. And I was the first one, I think. Now, I could be wrong about this, and I'm sure I'll get called out if I am. But I think I was the first one to put out like a downloadable booklet that had this is the chainmail combat system for OD&D, which I still have up on one of my old websites out there. That kind of grew into, I was playing around with these ideas, trying to figure it out. And before I knew what was happening, I had written 2/3 of a role-playing game. So I figured I'm just going to finish this, and I'm going to throw it up there on Lulu at the time, because it was before drive-through was a thing, and see what happens. And that became Spellcraft and Swordplay, which was Elflair Games' first release, and it's basically a 2d6 unified mechanic game. I just did that to see what would happen. I had it done. I figured I'd throw it out there and see if people liked it, and people did. And I didn't take it seriously enough at the time because I had a lot of momentum that I could have really gotten behind and turned into something. And I was in my early 20s, and I was not looking to really push that yet at the time. And I just kind of let it go. It's still up. You can still buy Spellcraft and Swordplay on drive-through.
Oh wow.
But so that was my first, and that sat for probably over 10 years before I formalized and made Elflair an LLC and started publishing what are now the Ogres systems. Spellcraft and Swordplay was powered by Orcs, and that Orcs was the system, and my current books are powered by Ogres.
Okay. Excellent. Chainmail. I use this every year during our virtual CrowdCon. The jousting rules right from Chainmail with some changes to make it work. We have a grand joust every year, and it is a blast. So there's still some really cool tidbits in the
Yes, there are.
chainmail if you get a hold of them. So yeah,
Yeah, the
real,
jousting rules are a lot of fun in
yeah,
chainmail. Yeah.
absolutely a blast. So a question that we're going to answer as we go to the site, and I think it was Doc Shoulder, who's one of our, he's been a follower around for 6 years. Was does Jason have any adventures in addition to his public to the rules? I'm like, as far as I can tell, yes, on the site, absolutely. There's
For
something.
my ogres games, for the
Yeah,
elsewhere game,
absolutely.
there's actually one that you can buy, which is a Faustian Dilemma. There is a second one in the GM screen and toolkit for Night Shift. There is free downloads of quick start rules for Night Shift and Wasted Lands that have adventures in them. And that's what we have so far. Now we're working really hard to get more adventures out there. I just I keep getting distracted by rules and source books.
Yeah. Only so
So
many hours in a day, man. You know,
yeah,
I
and
understand that.
really it's just me because my even like I know Derek and Tim would love to do more, but my funds are so limited to pay people right now.
Right, and artwork is
Um,
expensive.
Mhm.
I use a lot of stock art from
Okay.
Drive. I use
Oh,
a lot of stock art from Drive Through RPG because there are some absolutely phenomenal artists, well-known artists who are putting up. Brad McDevitt, who works now for Goodman Games,
Yeah.
uh, has hundreds and hundreds of pieces of great stock art on Drive
Mhm.
Through RPG that you're allowed to use for commercial works.
That's
So
but
I
it's a good
actually
way of reusing art, meaning yeah, you can use
it's
it
like
again.
Elmore. Elmore has those
Yep.
stock art packs too now, right?
Mhm.
He sent them out about what 10, 15 years ago, and people
and
still
I
use
would
them.
advise any because I find that like I mean gamers they want good art in their books.
Right.
They don't necessarily care if they've also seen that art in another book. It's more about whether the visuals go with what they're reading currently.
Mhm.
And while all of us would love to be able to afford uh, to pay artists for custom art for, and I did pay Brad to do 6 pieces for the Night Companion. Um, for anybody getting started in the industry who is on limited funds, I would stock art on drive through is a
Mhm.
great way to go.
Yep.
Great suggestion. So let's delve in before we go into the deep into Troller games. Let's delve into your site because yeah, it seems like you have 3 distinct different gaming systems. Is that correct? On the site for sale right
Yeah.
now?
Yes, sort of.
Okay.
So I mentioned Orcs, which was Spellcraft and Swordplay. That was my first game,
Right.
and that's up there because it's still out there. I'm not actually doing much new with Orcs,
Okay.
although I did do a stealth second edition of it in Wasted Lands. So Wasted Lands
Okay.
actually has 2 rules chapters. There's a rules chapter for ogres and a rules chapter for orcs.
Okay.
Uh, Ogres is my current house system. That's the one that Night Shift, Wasted Lands, and 13 Parsecs are all powered by ogres.
Okay.
They all use the exact same rule system. The biggest difference is that Night Shift, which was our first release, was released under the open game license. After the debacle in
Right.
early, was it
Last year.
2023?
Yeah.
Last year?
Yeah.
When WotC was trying to pull the open game license and target every company that was using the open game license because that's what they do. Um, Along with a bunch of other publishers, I decided it was we don't need the OGL. We don't need it to do what we do, and it's time to just get away from this reliance on other people. So, Wasted Lands and 13 Parsecs use the exact same rules and are 100% compatible with Night Shift, but no longer have terms from the open game license.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, I have strength, agility, toughness, intelligence, wits, and persona.
Okay.
It's exactly the same 6 attributes, just renamed. I went through and renamed the spells, tweaked them a little bit, rewrote them so that they don't use open game text, but it's all the same stuff. It's just I use defense value instead of AC. I use vitality instead of hit points, vitality dice instead of hit dice. But it's all like you'll if you know your old D&D stuff, you'll easily see what it is. And for Night Shift, until I get to my second printing, which hopefully is coming soon because I'm getting kind of low on stock. If you actually scroll up to the top
Yeah, here.
and you go, yeah, our games over where Night Shift is, you can see the conversion guide.
Right. This
I
one.
put that up for free. That will convert the existing Night Shift to
Okay.
new ogres.
All right. There you go.
So that it gives you everything you need to know so that there's no work to convert between that and Wasted Lands in 13 parsecs. Now,
Keeping.
so the third system that you were talking about is the CD8 system that I talked about earlier with the new CD8 Fantasy that's coming out.
Okay.
And that's a fun little beer and pretzel style short, but very robust system. I mean, you can use it as a one-off one night, or it can fuel a whole campaign. But that's one that I just did, on the side, and it's for fun. But Ogres is actually our main house system. So that the Night Shift, Wasted Lands, and 13 parsecs is the primary house system for Lair games.
And Ogres would be considered in the general category of Ostrich, old school Renaissance, that era. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like to box ourselves,
right?
Because when you say that you're an OSR game, that immediately comes with a certain set of assumptions.
Sure.
Which is fine. I love the OSR. I really dig the OSR games and the OSR style of play, but we have a lot of more modern game design theory that goes into the Ogre system. So while it will feel very familiar to anybody who has played any version of D&D, it's also very much its own thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we did kind of go to, we broke away from the unified mechanic concept. And Ogres has 3 mechanics that run the game. There is your standard attribute check mechanic, which is a D20 plus bonuses, and you're trying to get a 20 or better.
Okay.
Then there is the mechanic that drives all of your class abilities, from stealth to tracking to even spell casting, is a straight percentile check. If you're doing anything that has directly to do with your class abilities, you're rolling percentile dice. And then the third mechanic is just for the GM, and it's called the Rule of Two. The Rule of Two is something that's been baked into gaming since the earliest days of gaming, but has never actually been codified that way. You know how in old Dungeons and Dragons, an elf would notice a secret door on a roll?
Yeah, and you have to roll it. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or if you weren't a thief, listened at a door, you would hear noise on 1 or 2 on a D6. That's the Rule of Two. Anytime the GM needs to adjudicate a situation that they don't immediately have a rules reference for, they pick a die based on the general odds of it happening, throw it, and look for a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
So it's just a real quick, the GM can use this to quickly adjudicate any situation that they need to solve.
All right, that's cool.
So that's the 3 mechanics. So the D20 mechanic is for attribute checks in combat, the percentile check is for class abilities, and the Rule of Two is for the GM to adjudicate surprise and, whatever else they need to.
I'm trying to think of the first game I saw that used percentile. I want to say
D&D.
Well, as far as like all like main scores, right? Main abilities, like for say, I'm thinking like Wasteland for the Commodore 64 for gun checks and all. I think they were percentile back then. Fallout as well.
I don't know. I mean, as far as role playing games, it would have to be.
What about MERP? Millith role playing, wasn't that percentile as well?
That was MERP was built off of Rollmaster.
Okay.
So it would have been Rollmaster, but I think, and then there's BRP,
Top Secret,
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, that's
Marvel
percentile.
Superheroes came later.
Yeah.
Did Empire of the Petal Throne use percentiles? I don't remember.
I don't know on that one.
I don't remember.
That would be the first one of the first. Yeah, it's cool.
But D&D always used it for class abilities. They used it. The Rangers tracking was always percentile
that's
dice. Thief skills were always percentile dice.
Yeah, I use it for critical hit tables and fumble tables.
Yeah. So all I did for Ogres basically was unify that across all class abilities. Use percent, even spell casting.
Star Frontier, someone's saying too, was a percentile. Yeah, cool, excellent. So the three settings. Why don't you tell us a little bit about each? Let's start with Wasted Lands. What's the background on this setting?
So Wastelands is our fantasy role playing game.
Okay.
Rather than settings, although
Okay.
Wastelands is the only game that has its own core setting. Um, rather than settings, they're genres. So
Okay.
we have Night Shift is modern, Wastelands is fantasy, and 13 Parsecs is sci-fi.
Okay.
So the idea is between those
Genre.
three
Got it.
games, you can run any type of game you want. Wastelands is our fantasy game. The core rule books, the core rule book, which you have up on the screen right now, is the rules of play. It's the complete rules of play. So it's got your character classes, your not demi-human races, your combat rules, your spell casting, all of that good stuff. The second book for that, it's the only one that we put out in 2 volumes, which is the campaign guide and
Yep.
gazetteer of the Dreaming Age.
This one.
That's the GM's guide and the gazetteer of the default campaign. Now, the default campaign setting in that is a Lovecraftian swords and sorcery setting. So if you go with the default campaign setting, you're not going to have elves and dwarves and gnomes. It's going to be very Robert E. Howard meets H.P. Lovecraft. And the core idea is that it takes place 65 million years ago in a lost epoch of humanity, about 1,000 years after the great old ones were sent into their eternal slumber. Because what happened was the event that made the stars go wrong was the KT extinction event when the asteroid hit the Earth and
Cool.
sent dinosaurs into extinction. So what you are playing proto-humans who call themselves humans, but are creatures that were evolved by the old ones from various other life forms to serve as, experiments or slave labor or playthings or whatever. But now you've inherited the world because they're gone. So this humanity is moving out into the world and taking over all the cities that the old ones left behind, and kind of fighting all of the deep ones and the Shoggoths and everything that are left behind to make their mark on the world. Um, the kicker is your character, though all too mortal and very human, might be named Quetzalcoatl or Odin or
Oh
Diana,
wow.
and you are the original mortal origins of what in millions of years will be remembered as the gods of
Gods. That's
mythology.
neat.
And
Neat
the idea
concept.
is that the GM should be constructing stories based around, like if you're playing Thor, for example, based around your character getting involved in issues of war and storms and thunder and lightning, and so all of those things that we know Thor to be associated with, you're going through those adventures. As you go through those adventures, you gain what we call divine touchstones, which are special powers that are granted to you by the earth itself. As the earth is waking up, so the earth at the beginning of this is overrun with the energies of the deeper dark, or the magic of the old ones from the spaces between spaces, the corrupting. As the earth is now waking up and realizing that it has a soul, it's starting to fight back with radiance. And it grants these heroes these special powers formed from the radiance of the earth itself to help to beat back the deeper dark. So that's kind of the shtick of that setting.
Neat.
Now, the reason we put that setting in a separate book, though, is because this was the second game I put out, and I polled our fan base and asked them if they wanted a generic game, completely generic game, or they wanted settings that were easily divorced from the game so that they could use the game. And it was overwhelming. They wanted a setting that they could easily divorce from. So we put the setting in a separate book.
Okay.
So
Makes
if you
sense.
want to play D&D style fantasy, the core rule book will let you do that.
Okay.
Um, I would still recommend getting the Gazetteer book because it's the GM's guide and it has a bestiary in it. All
Well,
your
I want to
monsters.
commend you on one thing. You got really nice books. They're all hardback.
Yes, they are hardback. Although I got to tell you, for when we did 13 Parsecs, which just wrapped, I actually just finished fulfilling the crowdfunding campaign at the beginning of end of November. Um, I had people, I have international backers, and of course, as everybody knows, shipping from the United States overseas
Yeah.
is obnoxious. I have a $40
Yeah.
book, and then they're paying $60 for shipping, and everybody hates that. And for some reason, the publishers take the brunt of that, like like we're deliberately doing it, but it really is that expensive. But I had some people suggest, why don't you do print on demand versions just for your overseas backers?
Yeah. Meaning for
Oh
Europe and
wow.
Australia and
Right,
stuff.
because I don't want to do a print on demand version of the books because that undercuts my distributor, and I don't
Yeah.
want to undercut
Right.
my distributor.
Okay.
But for Kickstarters, for just for crowdfunding campaigns, just
Mhm.
for overseas backers, it seemed like a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I did soft covers. Do I have them here? Oh, no, they must be downstairs. I did soft covers, which are also matte finish, like my hard covers, for the POD to keep costs down. And when they came in, I liked them so much that I'm seriously thinking about moving to soft cover
Yeah.
for future printings because I loved the way they looked and felt so much, and it would allow me to reduce the costs of the books, which I think people would like. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking about it. We'll see where it
Yeah.
goes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Fair enough. I just was like, wow, these are really nice looking.
Yeah,
Really,
they're all
really
Yeah.
high
hardcover. Now
quality.
the first two books, Night Shift and Wasted Lands, I used the same printer that Troller Games uses.
Right.
I tried a new printer for 13 Parsecs who
And here's
did
a
just a
combine.
phenomenal job, and actually gave me a really good deal. So I may be sticking with them moving forward in the future.
And you
But
can get them both together with a discount, and then take the 40% and even get further.
and you that 40% I should mention, Wasted they're sold out for Night Shift, but Wasted Lands and 13 Parsecs still has leather copies available, and that
Yep.
40% applies to the leather copies as well.
Nice.
So
Nice
yeah,
collector's items.
yeah.
Sounds a bit like soft cover and leather. Then you cover the ones that could be easily used at the game table, and then you have the collector's edition
Yeah,
that could
well,
be
see now
real pricey.
that's kind of where it becomes an issue because if
Uh-huh.
I do the soft covers, I use a different printer for my soft covers, and I wouldn't be able to do the leathers.
You're right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm really thinking it
Hmm.
depends. When it comes time to do the next
Another
version of
set.
Night Shift, I may put out some polls and
Yeah. You have to see. Yeah. You
see
can't
what people
cover
want.
all the bases. It's expensive. Yep.
Right.
Maybe stretch goals on your Kickstarter or something like that, when you get
Well,
obscene amount of money. Yeah.
the leathers, actually that's what happened with 13 Parsecs. 13
Uh-huh.
Parsecs was crowdfunded as a soft cover.
Yeah.
And the hardcover was a stretch goal, which we just hit,
Hmm.
just barely hit at the end of the campaign. So we got the hardcovers out.
Yeah.
Um, and then making the leathers available was part of that. But I didn't get the leathers available in time for the campaign. So people have to actually go on the website and order the
Right.
leather. Yeah.
All right. So we got the fantasy. Tell me about 13 parsecs. Is there any suggestions on a campaign or a genre setting in the genre? Uh,
So, Wasted Lands again is the only game that has a core, quote unquote, core campaign
right.
setting. Night Shift and 13 Parsecs both have mini settings.
Okay.
In 13 Parsecs, we call them Solar Frontiers. There's 4 of them. One was written by Bill Coffin, one was written by me, one was written by Tim Brannon, and one was written by Derek Stolting.
Okay. Cool.
And Bill's is, man, really hard to describe. You kind of have to, his is tied into the intro fiction of the game and the cover right there. And um, it's predicated around the idea that in the distant past, there was sort of a cosmic Roman empire called the Kuruk Empire, which was a psychic empire that was trying to um, overwhelm and consume all the other worlds in its reach, and to create this Dyson sphere. They ran
Huh.
afoul of this psychic energy race called the Aa. I don't know how Bill pronounces it. I hope that's right. Aa. It's EA:A. Um, and this race proved to be so powerful that it utterly destroyed the Kuruk Empire, and along with it, severely damaged all the hyperspace lanes. So now, thousands of years later, everybody's rebuilt. people are traveling through hyperspace, and it's like, again, it's like if you think about the Roman Empire, the way we look at the Roman Empire now, it led into a Dark Ages, which eventually led to the modern era. But one of the conceits that we use now, people don't have to use this in their own game. It's just a unifying conceit that we used in our mini settings. Is that no one has managed to get within beyond 13 parsecs from their home world.
Got it. That's why
Oh.
it's called
Which is
13.
how we justified the name 13 parsecs, basically. So the reason in Bill's setting for that is because the hyperspace lanes have collapsed, which means that people just can't get out
Yeah,
there.
you can't.
So
Yeah.
his game is it's built so that you can play anything from like gritty horror in space to Star Trek like exploration to it's really built to be a kitchen sink setting built on this idea. When you move into mine, I thought we couldn't have a game that was so obvious with a Star Wars reference and not have a space opera setting with Mystic Knights and an evil empire, and so that's my setting. It's sort of Mystic Knights fighting evil Mystic Knights in two warring factions, but then I put a layer of the King in Yellow on top of it. So
Got it.
so yeah, it's like it's the yellow mythos overlaid on top of a Star Wars type setting is what mine is. Derek's is called Bug Hunt on Criones.
Oh my gosh. So.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think. Well, it is actually it is
Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Um,
But those were good movies. I liked them. They were good.
so it's Starship Troopers, but it's also Aliens.
Oh, cool.
And it's very post-apocalyptic. The idea is that humanity created this colony on this planet, Crionis 43, and was flourishing, but then like devolved. The colony devolved into a civil war, which woke up the subterranean insect species that is native to that planet, who came up and devastated humanity, and now humanity is on its last legs with no way off the planet, fighting to survive against these bugs. So that's Derek's setting. It's very gritty military sci-fi sort of. And Tim's is just gonzo fun. It's literally called Space Truckers.
So it's Traveler.
No, well, no, it's Smokey and the Bandit in space.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Yeah. And you play anthropomorphic animal species. And he's got in here a whole lexicon of CB slang in here.
That's funny.
Catch you on the flip flop, dragon wagon, but he's made it all sci-fi, and CB stands for Colony Band in this.
That's funny.
So instead of Citizens Band. So,
anything to the far west of Orion's Belt is bootlegging.
Yeah. It's
oh my gosh.
Hazard.
Oh, that's funny.
Hazard, Smokey and the Bandit, all of that stuff in outer space.
Oh
that's
my gosh. Oh, that's classic.
Cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I know Derek and Tim both have. We wanted to do. There were 3 more settings.
Like a Firefly type one.
Yeah, there were 3 more settings, 3 more mini settings we wanted to do that we just didn't have room for. That are kind of on the back burner, and the 3 of us are gradually working on those as we have time.
Nice.
To put them out. So, yeah, so that's 13 parsecs is a huge toolkit game that can cover any sort of sci-fi you want to play. We've got stuff in there for alien invasion scenarios. We've got stuff information in there for your modern day X-Files type government conspiracy hunting games. We've got, of course, space opera. We've got hard sci-fi. I have tables in here for quickly generating a time machine and what your time machine looks like.
Oh, Doctor Who style.
Yeah, there's discussions of how to generate power in space and how to store power in space and space debris and accidents that can happen. And when I was talking to my Friday gaming group and I was starting to develop 13 parsecs, I said to them, if you could think of one thing that you've never seen in a sci-fi game that you would want to see, what would that be? And immediately, 3 of them immediately went, nobody ever explains how freaking terrifying space travel is.
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever talks about the fact that an asteroid could hit you while you're in
You're
cryo
done.
sleep
Yep.
and you're done.
Yeah.
So I came up with Starship rules that directly address just how, terrifying space combat and space travel in general can be in here. And like all of our games, the ogre system is scalable. We have 3 levels of grit, so to speak, in the game.
Oh, okay. Cool.
There's cinematic play. There's what we call realistic, which isn't realistic, but it's our standard middle level normal play. And then we have gritty. And it's you don't have to choose one blanket. You could have gritty combat with cinematic healing and normal save checks, or you know what I mean. You can mix and match to create just the level of
Oh,
play
yeah.
that
Do-
your table wants.
I'm going to ask this question because we've had people bounce around Traveler. Do you have a character generation table where you can actually die in it like Traveler did? Do you remember that?
Now, to be quite honest, I have never been a big fan of life path systems.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand the allure of them, and I see why people have fun with them. But for my games, I like again, I like to keep things simple. I like
Right.
to
You
be
just
able
say,
to
hey,
I
develop
like
your
to
own
be able to
background.
build
Yeah.
a character in a half an hour at most.
That sounds
What
cool, though.
what we do though is unique in this is the way we treat demi-human and alien species and non-human races. Um, we strike a balance between race and class and race as class. So
Okay.
basically, if you want to play an alien in 13 parsecs or an elf in Wasted Lands, you choose your non-human species, and that's your first level.
Okay.
And it has an XP threshold. So let's see, it's whatever you choose. Well, we'll go with the fantasy races because they're familiar. Let's say you choose a dwarf, and the dwarf has an XP threshold of 1500 XP. You get all of the racial abilities of the dwarf, mining, sense depth underground, dark vision, all that good stuff. Then when you hit 1500 XP, your XP resets to 0, and you choose a character class and move forward from there.
Okay.
What we have also done there is humans can take cultural backgrounds, which work exactly the same way as non-human races. So you can say my human comes from a noble background, and they get certain class abilities, so to speak, that come with that background, and they have an XP threshold, and it all works exactly the same way. And what that lets you do then is if everybody at the table decides they want to take a cultural background or a species, the GM can just waive it and say, all right, everybody's going to get a blanket 1500 XP bank, and that covers all of you taking your stuff.
Yeah. You can.
But you don't have to. You can have somebody who says, I don't want to take a cultural background. I just want to be a warrior. And they don't get the extra stuff, but they start with as a first level character right away. So that's how
Cool.
we handle. Yeah, that's how we handle like additional training and non-human species and things like that.
That sounds
Sounds
great.
very well
Yeah.
thought out.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I got to take a look at it. I'm going to check it out. All right. And third, I will say this. I don't know if you get the cover with Angel on the front. Just kidding.
It's not really Angel, but yeah,
It
it's
looks
again
like-
that was that I photoshopped that together. That was my first time doing that, and I'm actually pretty proud of it still to this
That's
day.
cool looking.
But it was I joined up for like a stock photo site,
Right.
and those were free. I got a whole bunch of photos of models of and I took 3 of them and put them together and then put them in that church background.
Did you add the sword to him, or did he
I
have
did add that sword
yeah,
to him. I
yeah.
forget what he had originally. I did add that sword in his hand. Yeah.
It kind of looks like David Boreanaz, doesn't it? In the front,
A
it's
little
all
bit,
right.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a little. I never thought of that before, but yeah, he does.
It's all cool.
Yeah.
Night shift. Yeah.
The second printing has actually a sort of a goth looking girl in a leather trench coat with a shotgun, and then it's on like a purple and blue haze background, and you can see a vampire face behind her with tentacles and stuff like that. It's really cool. I dig the second printing cover. I'm looking forward to
Cool.
I'm chomping at the bit to get to the second printing of Night Shift, but I need to sell through my first printing first. So
Well, we're giving. All right. So tonight, and that's where I want to. We haven't even talked about what is in the giveaway, and I took. Let me see. I chopped up. I snipped what we talked about and then put it in a
that's good
in a
because
file.
I've forgotten.
All right, so this is what we're doing. We're doing a copy of the Night Shift Quick Start Rules, a copy of the GM Screen and GM Toolkit and the Player's Guide. That's for Night Shift. One of them's in PDF and one of them, is all in hard copy. Yes, so someone will win Night Shift.
What you need to understand is that actually is plenty to get you playing through several adventures without even needing the core rulebook. You can get started with Night Shift with those items before you even need to buy the core rulebook.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So we're going to have 2 winners tonight. Another cool feature Rob Phantom says of his games are the 3 different campaign styles.
That's the levels of grit I was talking about.
Yeah, the grit levels. Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us about in Night Shift. Is it like Supernatural? Is it like Buffy? Is it an amalgamation of all of them? Is it
amalgamation of all of them? There's actually a character class in Night Shift called the Chosen One.
Oh, cool.
What I like to tell people is Buffy or Ash from Evil Dead.
Nice.
So it's that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that level. And we said the GM toolkit is one of the things.
Yes, yeah. I'll send you the PDF if you want.
I can actually show off.
Yeah, a copy of the Night Shift, a copy of the GM Screen and GM Toolkit, and the Player's Guide. GM Screen, GM Toolkit, Player's Guide, and then Quick Start Rules. Yep, I did it again.
Yeah, I'm looking for my copy here of my GM Toolkit. Well, this is the Quick Start Rules, the physical copy of the Quick Start Rules that's coming out. This would be the Night Shift GM Screen, the physical copy of it.
Nice. Nice.
Wow.
Like it. Like it.
Here like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the inside of it is so.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. The PDF version is a bit different because it's designed to be printed out and used in
Sure.
the customizable GM screen. So it's got 4 individual art panels. And I can't.
It's all good.
Well, here, this is the Game Master toolkit that comes packaged with the.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that had a separate. Let me see. Go here, and it looks like there's a couple adventures here too.
There's an adventure in the toolkit. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So you're actually getting 2 prepackaged adventures with the giveaway.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is going to be a really nice giveaway, both in PDF and in hard copy for each winner. So very, very cool.
Wow.
Well, so one person's getting just the PDF,
and one's getting both.
Somebody's going to get the hard
First
copy.
winner gets both. Yep. Yeah. Hager, that's you and your kid with the mug. That's a joke, right? That's funny. So,
here's the player's guide.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah, it looks.
And it's basically an 8.5 by 11 with all the character generation stuff from.
Do you have different mini settings in this one as well? Like
Night Shift, yes.
Okay.
Night Shift has mini settings which we call night worlds.
Okay.
And those are.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about them.
So I can. Me and Tim did these entirely, and I think we each have 2. I think. So, yeah, the first one is called Veterans of the Supernatural Wars, which is actually not the default campaign setting. We just decided that we can't call the game Veterans of the Supernatural Wars and not have a campaign setting called that.
Yeah.
So it's a post-apocalyptic setting where one day the gates to hell just rip open.
Like the end of season 2 of Supernatural.
You know what? I never got into Supernatural.
Really?
I was a huge Buffy fan.
Right.
To me, Supernatural felt like
a ripoff.
Let's take Buffy and inject a bunch of testosterone in.
Well, Yeah. They went a little different direction though. They went more the heaven and hell thing, where
Yeah, I
Buffy
need to
really
give it
never went
another
that way.
chance. I need to give it another chance, I think.
You should give it another chance because there's really some good stuff in there. So
But
yeah,
basically, it's one day the gates to hell just open
that's
up.
awesome.
Humans pour forth and destroy human civilization and take over the world, and you play members of the pockets of humanity that are left over, and you belong to one of you don't have to, but you can belong to
Croatoan.
one of a bunch of different secret societies, from the Illuminati to the Ordo Templi Orientis to the Priory of Sion.
Jason, do you remember an MMO that only lasted about a year called The Secret World?
Yeah, I never played it, but I remember
Yeah, because it had those factions in it, and everyone said it was so linear that once you got done that, there was nothing much more to do beyond that. But they said that part was great. So yeah, very interesting.
And then the second one is called the Nocturnum Verse, and the Nocturnum Verse is actually my kitchen sink campaign setting that I've been running for 25 years.
Oh wow!
At home, it's set in Pittsburgh, and it was originally done using the Unisystem, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Witchcraft, Armageddon, All Flesh Must Be, all those games put together. I took it and converted it all over to Ogres and published it as one of our
cool
settings.
25 years, that's great.
Yeah, it started 24. It started in 2001, and it's still going. The next one is Generation Hex, which is one of Tim's, and that is not real. Well, yes and no. So the idea is that at some point in time, young people, in like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, just spontaneously start developing magical powers, and everybody has to learn to deal with that.
Okay, a little bit like Earth Dawn.
And there's a Harry Potter-esque idea in it where they have magical schools and
I like that.
It's built around your character is a teenager with magical powers in high school, fighting horrors from beyond while still having to do your math test.
I kind of like that one, man, because that feels like a Buffy right there too. You know,
it's sort of like Buffy meets Harry Potter.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
And then the next one is Tim's as well, and it's called Ordinary World. An Ordinary World is a setting where ostensibly you're playing non-human supernatural species, be they fae or demons or vampires or werewolves, whatever, and you just want to be left alone. But you're trapped in this world that's not made for you.
Oh my
god! You have to keep yourself secret. And that's kind of the shtick between Ordinary World.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's a lot of fae. He does a lot with the fae and demons and angels in that one. So
cool.
and then we have a section with as opposed to settings, we have locations, which we call night spots, which you can drop into just about any setting. Tim has this bar called Halfway that just shows up on the side of the road wherever it's needed and is filled with demons and monsters and.
Sounds like the bar in Angel, with what's his name.
Sort of, except that this is the
karaoke bar.
This bar literally appears and disappears.
Nice.
And it's kind of run by this being called the Dealer, who deals tarot and will give you, prophecies of your future and whatnot.
Oh, I like that.
And I have the Library of Alexandria in there, which, if you saw the show The Librarians,
yes,
it's that.
Okay.
It's the library. But more, and it's literally the Library of Alexandria. Just it was taken out of time and put in its own pocket.
So you gotta watch Supernatural because they have the Men of Letters, which is an organization that has been fighting for years and years, generational stuff. They have a headquarters that they find. Yeah, so there's some cool things. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to give it another chance. It wouldn't be the first time that something didn't resonate with me when I first watched it, and then I go back and revisit it a few years later and end up really liking it.
Yeah,
so.
A lot of good spoofs.
Yeah,
and everyone knows my good friend Todd Stashwick is the bad guy in one of the episodes on Supernatural as well, and it's hysterical. So
nice.
Yeah, really cool. Sorry, I gotta tickle cough here. So, Annie, what you have any questions for Tim about any of his
I was
great
just going to say,
products?
I'm amazed at how broad and versatile you are. Meaning, I'm so stuck in fantasy that it's amazing to see a creator that can span the gamut of game genres almost. I'm sure there's some bases you haven't covered yet, but I'm amazed at how versatile you are. That's so
Thank
cool. Is that part of you get like now I've worked in fantasy so much I want to do something else, or what's the lure of going wide, so to speak?
I've always been kind of a writer and interested in telling stories.
Hmm.
I used to write books, illustrated books, when I was a little kid and staple them together for my mom. Like I still
Yeah.
to this day. Unfortunately, about 8 or 9 years ago now, my parents' house burned down, and with it went a lot of my
Oh,
childhood stuff.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still remember, and it was up in the attic up until that time. I had found it shortly before the fire. I wrote. I don't know how old I was. I must have been before I was 10 years old. I wrote a book called The Adventures of Mighty Mutt, which was a Superman pastiche that had, which it was all dogs. Like he was Bark Kent,
Oh,
and
that's
and
awesome.
his girlfriend was
Oh, you
Lois
should
Lane.
do that again. That's so cool. That
His
sounds
girlfriend
that
was
sounds
Lois
fun.
Lane down because you tell the
Yeah.
dog to lay
Bark
down.
Kent. That sounds awesome.
And it was, and I drew little pictures in it and wrote a story and
that's funny,
stapled it
Alex.
together. I used
Yeah.
to do that to entertain my mom.
Well, one
So
shots. It should be like you're the dogs that go to save the neighborhood, and you have Bark
yeah,
Kent. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but my along with that, my earliest memory is seeing Star Wars in the theater in 1977 when I
Hmm.
was 3 years old.
Oh, three.
Um,
Yeah. Wow. I was
that's my
12 when I
earliest
saw it.
memory.
Yeah.
So
Man,
and then my dad got me into the old Ace 12-volume Ace paperback Conan series when I was a kid. My dad was really into those, and he got me reading those. And then Sherlock Holmes. He had these two huge annotated volumes of all the Sherlock Holmes stories. So that, and then my dad got me into like John Carter and Conan, and um, my aunt was a huge Trekkie, so I got into Star Trek at an early age. So I just had genre coming at me from every angle, all the different genres.
you
So I'm just kind
yeah,
of steeped in all of it.
you were too young for the Night Stalker.
Uh, I love. You mean Kolchak?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I
Yeah,
love Kolchak.
yeah,
I love Kolchak.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's
They
just
still play Kolchak in the middle of the night every Saturday night into Sunday on Me
me
TV.
TV. Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
yep. After Svengoolie, a
Uh,
couple
Jason,
hours after Svengoolie, you get Kolchak.
Jason, I tell this story all the time, and people get tired of hearing about it. My favorite monster from D&D is the Rakshasa. That episode scared the shit out of me, and still
Yeah.
gives me goosebumps when I say it on Kolchak. You know,
I like the original Night Stalker movie, and then the
yeah, with
fact that
Eric
they went
Estrada.
back,
Yeah,
the fact that they went back and did a sequel to it
yep,
in the series itself, I always dug.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a classic, and what's his name? Buffy guy. Oh my God, Josh Whedon says that's where he got a lot of his inspiration from. So you get inspiration from things you see, watch, do, and it sounds like you've collected a huge,
Yeah,
you
all
know,
from an early age. I just had
yeah,
it all coming at me. So
cool.
really, it wasn't. It's not really an effort that I make to branch out into other areas. It just is my interests are all over the place. So and as far as Elf Lair goes, again, there was a conscious decision. I wanted a modern game, I wanted a
Hmm.
sci-fi game, and I wanted a fantasy game, so that fans can come in and use my system to play anything they want.
That's smart because that way you don't have to relearn a completely new
Right.
system just because you want to change the flavor a bit. So yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about this adventure, a Faustian Dilemma.
So, a
Yeah.
Faustian Dilemma was an adventure I ran for my home game. That involves it includes it's a very short adventure, and I'm almost out of them. They're almost sold out, and when they're sold out, I'm going to expand it, I think, and uh, do a little bit more with it. But it's it includes a night world to it, which is called the City of the Twilight Queen, and the City of the Twilight Queen is a city that is in between dimensions, specifically in between the dimension of Earth and the dimension of Fairy.
Hmm.
And I kind of ripped this off from Lost Girl, in that every supernatural creature you've ever heard of in your life is some type of fae. So vampires are fae, werewolves are fae, demons are fae, angels are fae. They're all fae creatures. And if you know anything about Irish mythology, you have the Seelie and the Unseelie courts. And the city of the Twilight Queen is kind of a war zone, a war ground between the Seelie and the Unseelie courts. And people get sucked in there who fall between the cracks on Earth, and you get trapped there. In the city of the Twilight Queen, there's no sunrise. It's always nighttime there. And everything is equidistant from everything else. So no matter where you want to go from somewhere, it takes the exact same amount of time to get there. Which my players had a ball with, because every time they wanted to go, should we stop off here? Well, it's on the way. But really, it's not on the way, because if you decide to stop off somewhere, it's then going to take you twice as long to get to your destination. But the only place in the city of the Twilight Queen that gets sunlight is the Botanical Gardens, where it's always sunny in spring, and that's the domain of the Seelie Court. Here's the twist. The Seelie Court are the bad guys, and the Unseelie Court are... I don't want to say the good guys. The Seelie Court are unequivocally the bad guys. The Unseelie Court are not good guys, but they're less bad than the Seelie Court.
The enemy of my enemy. Yeah, got it.
So that's the crux of the setting that the Faustian dilemma takes place in. And the idea behind it is that it's a young singer who made a bargain, a devil's bargain, and not literally the devil, but the devil with whom she made the bargain comes to collect. And your characters are people who are stuck in the city, who are demon hunters and investigators of the supernatural, and you get all wrapped up in this scheme. And you don't necessarily have to save her, but you get wrapped up in this whole scheme and unravel the mysteries of the city while you investigate it. That's the shtick behind a Faustian dilemma.
So Brevin Darkstill seems to be a really big fan of yours. He says, speaking of which, how much inspiration has Grimjack had on some on your genre Nexus games? Any?
I'm not familiar with. I mean, the name Grimjack sounds vaguely familiar.
Brevin, if you want to elaborate on that, please do in chat, and I'll relay it. So yeah. So
yeah, the name Grimjack sounds familiar, but I'm not sure what.
It's funny. It's like there's always I know a lot of shows do that connection where you call it Fae, or you can call it whatever. Another supernatural episode. You find out and what's her name? She's always on the show. Redhead from Folk. Oh my god!
I know.
Oh my gosh! My brain just shut off.
Yeah, I'm having the same brain.
Huge name. Oh my god! I'm gonna drive myself crazy now. Felicia Day. Felicia Day ends up going into Oz because it's connected, and Dorothy's actually a badass in there, and the real Oz is much more nasty than the fantasy setting. You know, there's a lot of cool connections like that, and this reminds me of what you've done here. A much cooler Ravenloft, because when Ravenloft came out as an adventure, I loved it, and then I was like, oh my god, I don't like the setting. I can't stand. Setting
really requires you have a great DM who knows that setting backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And like the guy that was my best man at my wedding, my best friend Mike, is the best Ravenloft DM you could ever hope to have. He's phenomenal, and I love his games. But I get how that setting could easily become throwing Soth in there, throwing all the Vecna, throwing them all. I'm like,
it's not. So Grimjack is the main character of a comic book originally published by American company First Comics, later by IDW Publishing. John Ostrander and Timothy Truman are credited as co-creators of the character, although Ostrander had been developing Grimjack with his artist Lennon Delsol. There you go.
So, yeah, I've never read it. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. The answer is.
I do love Truman though. Tim Truman is great. I loved his work on Dark Horse's Conan.
It takes place in a city of Nexus of Dimensions. All right. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Very cool.
Mine was more influenced by I basically took the TV series Lost Girl and smashed it together with Dark City, the movie Dark City.
Okay. Excellent. Neat stuff. So there's plenty here, and like I said, 40% off, everyone. Anything you get is 40% off through the end of the year. So no matter what it is, so that is wonderful. I know you have some other new stuff coming out you were talking about as well, which we can talk about at the end for anything you want to highlight. So all right, let's get to the Troll Lord games. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of Troll Lord. So
Yeah, we have to do that because I promised Steve.
yeah, and also Chuck says hi. Finally, you hear a ding on my phone. That was Chuck.
Hey, Chuck.
He's tied up with real life stuff. He said he'd love to hop on, but he can't. But he wanted me to tell you hello. So yeah, Troll Lord is been very good to us here.
Yeah, and you know what, Jay? I just remembered you last year at GaryCon gave me the book that
Yep.
the booklet that you
The
read,
book.
and I promised you I would look at it, and I never got back to you on it, and I'm really sorry about that.
No,
It didn't
it's
go on
okay.
my radar.
I know you're busy. Look, I had a lot of. I mean, Troy from Cannibal, Anna Norker, a lot of people, the artists, helped put this together as a teaser guide. And with me, with my health issues, and I know all the stuff that Steven has going on, I just said let's hold off until I get through all this that's going on. But yeah, it's just it's my D&D setting. The city in Greyhawk. I pulled out. It's in there. We got a spot in Aired for it now. Let me show you the map here. I'll bring it up where it's been placed in Aired. Boom. I think you said you were doing something nearby that too.
I theoretically have a series of adventures that I'm working on in the Sienna region of
Okay.
Aired. We published one for the 5e rules set. It hasn't come out for Siege yet, and I have 6 more that I still have to write. So
Very cool.
Because I have to finish this Codex Exaltum, which for anybody out there who backed the Codex Infernum and Codex Exaltum books, it's my fault that those are so late. 100% my fault. That the Codex Exaltum has been like an albatross around my neck, and I really need to just hammer my way through it.
Here you go. So it's right here. It's right at the base of the Unclewood, right there. Unclewood River start right there.
Okay.
So I told Steven I'm gonna take my Selene information, it's gonna flip around and do Footnote for him as well, with all the Elven development I've done, since that's the Elven realm. So, yep. And we got Deep Home as well. We got some ideas for that. I know he's like, oh, I was gonna write something up. I said, Steven, if you want to write it up, that's fine, but we have data for it, for the whole area. So that's the area we're gonna do it out of. So yeah, just. So how did it start? How did the connection with Troller Games start?
Well, again, like I said before, it was I had as soon as Castles and Crusades came out, I fell in love with it. In fact, I have every single printing of the CNC Player's Handbook on my shelf right
Wow.
there.
That's like 8, right?
No, we're coming up on the 9th, I think. 10th. Coming up on the 10th. The 10th just hit. The 10th will be the first one without OGL.
Yeah, that was when they dropped OGL.
Yeah. But I had a fan website up with house rules and new character classes and stuff like that, and I was very active on their message boards.
Bob says 10th.
I got to be friends with Break Daddy, and I had been talking to him about how I had this idea for, at the time was called Pulp. I was calling it Pulp Siege because they had come out with Star Siege.
Okay.
At the time, and Break Daddy really liked my ideas, and he introduced me to Steve. They used to do at Gen Con every year. Troll Lord and Goodman Games used to do this basement party that was invite only at a local bar in Indianapolis. And Break Daddy took my wife and I. She was my girlfriend at the time, but my now wife and I took us to this basement party and introduced me to Steve. And I was able to pitch this idea to him, and he said he was receptive to it. He said Star Siege was selling okay, but if I was going to do it, the problem with the original Star Siege was that there was a very steep learning curve. It was not a siege engine game in the sense that if you played Castles and Crusades, you could just jump right in. So he said it's got to be something that's going to be compatible enough with Castles and Crusades that a fan of CNC can just jump right in and play it. And I said, that's no problem. That's exactly what I would want to do.
Yep.
So he gave me the chance. And in the meantime, he had me write, which became the only adventure module for Star Siege, which was called Another Fine Mess. So I did that, and he put that out while I was working on Amazing Adventures. I put Amazing Adventures together, and it literally sat on his desk for 2 years after I sent it to him. And he was constantly in communications with me. We constantly were talking because Steve and I hit it off right away. We became friends real quick. But he didn't know what he wanted to do with it. He didn't know how he wanted to release it. He did. At one point in time, we were talking about the original Amazing Adventures core rulebook was 6 chapters, and we were going to do a box set with each chapter as a separate softcover book that mimicked the look of one of the old pulps, like Weird Tales and
Okay.
whatever I'm having a brain fart now, but one of the different old pulps was going to be the idea. That was at one point in time. Eventually, we just got around to the point where Steve was like, all right, I want to get this out here. Let's throw this together. We're going to put out a limited release at Gen Con in 2008, I think it was. And it was, hang on one second here. It was this.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
And this book, there were only like 60 of them printed. It was 2012. Sorry, 2012. This didn't even have a rules chapter in it. You had to have Castles and Crusades to play it.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, it was just a preview. Now, then later that year, we put out a full version of it, which had the same cover but had the full rules in it that you could buy, and it was just riddled with errata and problems. And
So that it is a sci-fi conversion of CNC then, or
no, so originally the idea was it was going to be a pulp role-playing game. But what we didn't, and this is what will eventually bring us around to what we do with it, what we're doing with it now. Pulp to me, because of the fact that I've always been steeped in all of that stuff, always meant multi-genre. If you think back to the pulps, there are science fiction pulps, there are horror pulps, there are sword and sorcery pulps. So pulp to me always meant multi-genre. And it's on me and Steve to a degree, we didn't consider common usage in our branding. That being that when people hear pulp these days, they generally think of Indiana Jones and Two-Fisted Adventure. So people took Amazing Adventures to be that sort of just two-fisted action adventure type idea. And we kind of ran with it, and I put out the Amazing Adventures Companion, which gave more information on how to do other genres in Amazing Adventures. But yeah, originally it was our pulp role-playing game, multi-genre role-playing game, so you could have Castles and Crusades for fantasy and Amazing Adventures for whatever else you want to do. It was kind of the modern version of Castles.
And was it based on the Siege engine, or was it okay?
Yeah. It's the only change the original Amazing Adventures, and this has been rolled back now, but the original Amazing Adventures used a flat challenge base of 15, and you got a +5 for having a prime, instead of using the 12 and 18 split that Castle.
Yeah, I always wonder why they didn't do that to begin with. Yeah.
Now Amazing Adventures uses the 12-18 split just because we wanted to make it 100%.
Well, yeah, it's standard CNC.
Yeah. But the 15 + 5 is in there as an option in the GM section. So, or now in the Chronicle Keeper's Guide. So yeah, that's really how it all came about. And after the black cover Amazing Adventures sold well enough, we upgraded it. We fixed all the errata. We released a second soft cover that had the yellow cover, which then led to the hardcover third printing, which had the yellow cover. And now we're on to, we called it the third printing, but that was our mistake. This is technically the fourth printing of Amazing Adventures that's out right now. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. How many of these Amazing Adventures are yours?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. Right now, I would love for this to change. but right now I am the sole author on Amazing Adventures. Steve is actually writing a version of Ends Meet, which people who know Castles and Crusades will know Ends Meet from there. He's written a version of Ends Meet that exists in Arkansas on Earth that's for Amazing Adventures. So it's bilocated on Earth and aired. And we're doing a lot of crossovers between Earth and aired with Amazing Adventures now. But yeah, so far it's all me. Amazing Adventures is all me.
Very
But if
cool.
anybody wants to pitch, contact Chuck and Steve, and if anybody wants to pitch Amazing Adventures adventure modules that they might have.
Excellent. No, it's just it's a huge accomplishment, man.
So the new Amazing Adventures, the current printing, actually, what we've done is we've given it a major facelift, so that you can see it's not that yellow copy.
Hey, Chad. Yep. Okay.
It's not that yellow copy. It is, yeah, the player's handbook one, not this one.
Okay. Yeah, it's this one here.
I'm getting glare, but there it is.
Now you're up to modern CNC or modern Troll Lord standard, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes, we brought it up so that it looks more, because it's been a struggle for us to get the message across to people that Amazing Adventures and Castles and Crusades are two parts of one big game. We've really been trying to push that home, and Amazing Adventures really is your gateway to any sort of game that you want to run with Castles and Crusades. If you want to run, we have all the spells from Castles and Crusades reprinted in Amazing Adventures, so you can have spell slingers in your modern urban fantasy game. But we also take an interesting approach to superheroes in here. You can run a 4-color superhero game with Amazing Adventures. There's a character class called the Gadgeteer or Powered character. And how that works is that you get gadget or power points, depending on whether you're playing a gadget character or a powered character. And you buy spells that you then reskin as superpowers or gadgeteering effects. Or so if you want to have a gadgeteer that, I'm going to use old OGL terminology just because it's familiar to people, but if you want to have a gadgeteer that has like a homing blaster pistol, you might buy Magic Missile as a spell, and then you're going to buy it at whatever level power you want it to be. So if you want 3 missiles, you'll buy it at level 6 or whatever. And then you reskin it to be your blaster or to be your
That makes sense.
blast. So, the reason I did that is because I was starting to put together a power system for Amazing Adventures, and I found what I was doing was breaking down what spells do. And I was like, why has nobody stopped to think about the fact that spells are basically superpowers as they are? And everything you need to build a superhero is there in the spells. You just need to tweak it and use a little imagination and a little outside the box.
Yeah, you just have to reskin them in a technical way or some other way. Yeah.
Exactly. And it requires a lot of cooperation and collaboration between the player and the castle keeper. But I think that's what the game's all about.
Oh, so that's something you're supposed to do in game or during the game, it's not in the rule book, or maybe it's in the rule book as well.
It is in the rule book, but it also requires you to, like, let's say, for example, I wanted to make a motion tracker like they have in Aliens.
So if you come up with whatever cool technology you want.
I would maybe buy the detect magic spell, but then I would say to the CK, I'm buying detect magic, but I want it to be a motion detector instead of detecting magic. And the GM would say, that works.
You can just say that, can we make a gadget that works on this using this spell or something?
Correct.
So,
it's kind of like the specialty priest of Merlin in D&D, like we'll do something like a cure light wounds and bandages will wrap around the arm or something like that. It's kind of in reverse.
Right. So it's just kind of a unique approach to doing superpowers and super science, just using all the effects that are already there. There's hundreds of spells in Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures.
Yep.
It's all there. All you need to do is, think a little creatively, and you can turn those into your superpowers So, I've got a section in here, big section in the player's handbook with science fiction equipment and starship stats and laser guns and all that good stuff. In the Castle Keeper's Guide, I talk about all the different subgenres of multi-genre gaming, weird western, and a bunch of different subgenres of horror and sci-fi and planetary romance and Swords and Stones.
Planetary romance. That sounds wow.
That's
I
Fun.
never.
John Carter.
Oh,
John
got
John
you.
Carter. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
never heard that term. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I give you the guidelines, to do all of this stuff, and then it's up to you to take it wherever you want to take it.
Yep.
And our plan then is to do genre books moving forward. Now we have so much going on in the Troll Dens right now that nothing is in active development right now. I need to be clear about that. But Star Siege will be making a comeback eventually as an Amazing Adventure source book. Steve and I have talked about doing zombie survival horror books. We've talked about doing post-apocalyptic books. We've talked about doing Weird West books. We've talked about a bunch of different genre books that we'd like to do to expand Amazing Adventures. So, God's willing, if people buy the book and it keeps selling well, there's a lot more to come for AA, and I'm really, really excited about the potential for it. I absolutely love the new presentation. I think it's just gorgeous. The artwork is stunning in here. Steve really, he went the distance finding artists and artwork to put into the new Amazing Adventure stuff, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and it looks beautiful alongside Castles and Crusades on the
Beautiful.
shelf.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it. I mean, people often. I had somebody ask me recently, do I prefer Night Shift or Amazing Adventures? And I was like, well, first of all, that's like asking a parent which child is their
Right.
favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
My gosh.
But you have to consider that Amazing Adventures was, first of all, was my very first core rule book. It was my first complete full role playing game that anybody let me publish. For that reason alone, it's always going to be my baby. I love Amazing Adventures. I absolutely love it. And I really think it's important to get it out there. Like, people have asked us for years, when are we going to get psionics rules for Castles and Crusades? We've had them since 2012. They're in Amazing Adventures.
Right. You could just
There's a
port them over.
mentalist character class that's a psionicist. So I don't know. I can't. I'm gushing about it, but I love the game, and I'm very proud of it. So
Crossing over systems has been done since Boot Hill to D&D to Gamma World. They crossed over all those,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
yeah.
Yep. And again, like, yes, is it a pulp game? Yeah, at its heart, it is a pulp game. I love the 1930s, the 1920s, the 1950s setting. But again, the pulps to me mean
Cool deal.
multi-genre.
Okay.
And you can play. It's Amazing Adventures. Really, I think is built for modern urban fantasy at its core more than anything.
Rise of the Red God.
But again, it can be used to. Yeah, that Rise of the Red God. So there's a 3-part. The third one is in layout now, and it's called Rings of the Red God. Shadows of the Red God comes first, then Rise of the Red God, then Rings of the Red God, and that forms. Each one of those has 3 adventures, and you know how the famous among CNC fans, the A series is famous, the Undying War. The Red God series is kind of the Amazing Adventures version of the Undying War, and it brings the Red God from Erd into Earth, and your characters are fighting against cults of Orndul on Earth. That's what the Red God trilogy does.
Cool. I don't know. You must have some questions off of this.
I'm just this is so cool because I'm learning a lot of things that I didn't know about Troll Lord, or more than just
Yeah.
do a little bit from
Yeah, it's not just
browsing
CNC.
on their shop and seeing at their booths and stuff. So this is so cool. So thank you so much for indulging us in and teaching us more about the stuff that we normally don't look into deep
That's
here,
true.
and that
That's
they
really
are
true.
kind of away from our normal fantasy. And we saw, meaning I'm a one setting gamer, but people should know that I actually fell in love with sci-fi before fantasy. I played D&D, but then we started playing Traveller. And in the beginning, I loved Traveller and fantasy or sci-fi even more than fantasy, because I hadn't read Tolkien or any of that. And I started playing when I was 15 in 79, 80. So then I started to I learned to love fantasy more over time, and also I think I joined the military. I started flying planes and stuff. So I think that took over. That took away my. I wasn't that interesting in spaceships. I had enough in aeronautics and stuff like that to learn in the real world. That kind of disappeared, but
You know
the
what? I would be
fantasy stayed with me. Yeah.
I would be really interested to hear your thoughts. In 13 parsecs, I have fairly detailed dogfighting rules.
Awesome.
Oh,
We should discuss that someday. Yeah.
And I did a lot of research. Now, I obviously have never flown a plane. I have
Hmm.
a really good friend who is an aeronautics and
Yep.
military aeronautics enthusiast who he
Yep.
never flew a plane either, but he's an ex-Marine.
Hmm.
Um, but I did a lot of research in here, and I have like very specific. I have to find them in here. Very specific maneuvers, combat maneuvers. Um, like attack maneuvers, defense maneuvers. I have like the combat spread, um, defensive split, the Immelman turn.
Yep.
Um, you know,
What I
barrel
would
roll,
I
side to
would
side gun passes. So
yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your
I
thoughts.
would give you one advice right away. What you should do, you should those I think are perfect. I don't think you need to change that part. That is the technical side of it. So
Mhm.
you should have a
human.
technical side that you can then marry into whatever the craft that the pilot is piloting, meaning what are
Yeah.
the performance, so to speak. But what you should do, you should have a psychological factor because the key bit is situational awareness. You should
Okay.
roll every round and use whatever stats you wisdom, intelligence, and stuff like that, and stamina. So the longer you go on, you should have a like you should always make sure that you stay in the fight mentally, so to speak. So you build a picture and whatever, and then you should have someone can disturb you, something can disturb you, or someone, or you can lose that momentum, and then it's hard to find, and that should deteriorate, so you get like a minus on your technical execution, because it's that balancing act.
Okay.
It could be simple things like you get sweat falling into your eyes, or some stupid shit. You're sitting wrong and you or you had like something wrong to eat and that comes to hit you when you start pulling G's and stuff. So these little niggly stupid shit comes and hits you. So you should combine things like that. So that means that you need to in order to craft it, you need to have more than one stat in the go, so to speak. And then
Right.
you should have things like weather, electronic spectrum, so you can, meaning
You
how
got Anna
difficult it is to
running.
use
Go
a
on a
sentence.
roll now, Jason.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No. See now, and again though, where do
yeah,
you draw the line between simulationism and keeping it rules light? You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
What I
I
would
do
do,
have some of that
yeah,
in situations where like if you're playing chicken and you're driving right at
yeah,
somebody,
yeah,
I have them making like wit saves every round to not
yeah.
break off.
Yeah,
You know?
I think I would do it, and this is just top of my head. I would make the hexes big enough that you don't have to, or whatever the presentation big enough, or the granularity of the rules so big that you don't have to mess with the finer prints. So you
That's the
simply
way it
say
is.
you have an advantage now. You have two advantage, three, and once you have enough, you can check it in for a kill or something like that. So you can,
That's kind of what I do. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's awesome. Yeah.
very
Hmm.
blown up, and
Yep.
it translates into if you
Yep.
successfully execute this maneuver, which is opposed by your opponent's maneuver, you
Yeah.
get this bonus, or
Hmm.
you get set up for this kind of attack. Or
Yeah, or you can kind of you can either cash in the advantage you have now, or you can aim for even better one next round or something like
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
you can put a little bit of gamble in there. And if something happens, then you lost it. But on the other hand, if you go in for even better position next round, so it's kind of yeah. So an uncertainty should always be there because it's always the uncertain world, so to speak. It's
I have a
yeah,
suggested system in there. There's a couple ways to handle it. One of my suggested systems is that each side in the dogfight has to write down on a card what they're doing for their maneuver, and then show them at the same time.
yeah.
So the
Hmm.
attack and defense maneuver may or may not cancel each other
It's
out,
funny.
but you have to decide what you're doing, not knowing necessarily what your opponent's going to do. So,
Cool.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's my military experience. I use that a lot now when I'm fiddling with the rules and stuff like that. It's the that kind of things can go haywire really quickly, and they should always be a risk, so to speak. Things should always go well, but they can always screw up, and some bit like that. I want that's one of my problems a little bit with role-playing games is that combat feels a bit too railroady. I would. It's Savage World got it right in some ways, meaning you should almost always get hurt. You should admit whatever combat you get into, you should run the risk of getting hurt, no matter what. Even if you go up against some local villagers with hay forks and you're a 12th level fighter, you should be. They should be able to hurt you.
Right.
And stuff. So it should not be a done deal, so to speak. But on the other hand, you should be able to whack the field with them. So and a little bit more situational, but without being too grid based and too tactical and somewhat. So it's a hard balance. It's really really hard.
It's a very fine line to walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to keep combat moving no matter what you're doing. As I've always said, keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's where you gain bogs.
Yeah.
You don't want that bogging down.
Yeah. Dole out huge amount of damage to get it done quickly, so to speak, and make and one of the I think that I want to see in role play, you should hit more often. Hit should be way more than 50%. It's more fun that you hit and you hit like 50 to 75% should be hits.
So what I did in Wasted Lands for the warrior class, which is your basic fighter,
Yeah.
I gave them dealing damage as a basic class ability.
Mm-hmm.
So once per round, after you've made all your attacks, let's say you make all your attacks and you don't hit. Once per round, you get to make a percentile roll against your class ability to deal damage anyways.
Yep.
Because it's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all the warrior classes have that as a class ability. The archer has that with a bow or a weapon. The warrior has it with their melee weapons. You you have that chance to deal damage even if you miss
Chris.
on your normal attacks.
Yep. Yeah. So and then once you get into game design, you need to sit with a spreadsheet and start doing the math, unfortunately. So and then test run. I've done.
That's why I have Tim Brannan, because Tim Brannan has a PhD in statistics.
There you go.
I have run statistical analysis on all of my character classes.
I never thought in my life that would have use for the few statistics classes I took at university in my hobby with gaming, but now I do. So I know what you can do, the G2 analysis and the regressive analysis and stuff like that. I know what it is, and I can understand it when I see one. So play test and
every game is a DM or GM is a play test.
Yeah, like house rules.
By the same token, though, I always tell people the math and the numbers are the beginning of game design.
Yeah.
Because it all goes out the window once you start rolling dice.
Well, yeah, and it's the feeling.
You have to run your statistical analysis and get your math solid, but then you've got to play it, because a lot of times what looks statistically sound on the page completely falls apart once the dice start rolling, and you have to make adjustments.
Yeah,
very true.
Game design is every bit as much an art as it is a science.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people that demand everything be 100% mathematical and statistically sound are missing that, because your game's going to fall apart. It can be the most perfectly statistically sound game ever designed, and if that's all it is, it will fall apart once people start playing it.
Yeah, because it's the feeling you want to. You want to convey the feeling, and it's also hard, meaning, and it must be. Meaning, I'm only making a game that could be fun for me and my players, and maybe 500 other people in the world, maybe. But I can understand if you make a game for thousands and thousands of people. Damn, that must be really, really hard, because I don't need to hit a wide sweet spot. I need to hit a smaller target, so to speak.
Well, what I say for that is all I can do is make the games that I would enjoy playing.
That's it.
And hope that they find an audience. If I'm trying to make a game to please somebody else, again, it's probably going to fail.
Yeah.
Because if I don't love what I'm doing,
I agree.
You know, all you can do is do what you like, and hope that other people like it too.
Yeah. So that means that then become the issue becomes you need to convey what the game is supposed to do, so to speak. Who you was supposed to who should try and play this game and who you think will like it, so to speak. Is
Yeah,
that
I mean,
communication
you
critical
want
then?
it
Yeah.
you want it to reach as general an audience as possible,
Yeah.
obviously, because your company's not going to go anywhere if you don't.
Yeah.
But again, it's that fine line you're walking. I can't design for somebody else, maybe with the exception of that CD8 game I wrote for my wife.
Hmm.
But
Well, see, but that
can't
was out of passion too. Yeah.
it was. You
Yeah.
have that's it. It's passion. You have to have a passion for what you're doing.
Hmm.
You have to
Absolutely.
love what you're doing.
Yep.
And in the end, it has to work for you before you can put it out there for anybody else. Now, then, of course, you want to take feedback.
Oh
You
yeah. Yeah.
you have a
Meaning even
passionate
I've done
fan
that.
base
I've
out
done.
there. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a passionate fan base out
Hmm.
there who are going to come to you and say, "Hey, this doesn't work for me," or "Hey, I love this part, and you should apply it across the board." And you need to. I very much tend to be, and a lot of people out there who know me are going to laugh when I say this because they know it's true. I tend to be reactionary. When people come to me and say, I don't think this works, my immediate reaction is to argue it. No, it works. It's fine. I did it. It's good. But then it always gets me thinking. And
Hmm.
more often than not, I'll come back and go, you know what? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something to that. And maybe I
Hmm.
do need to make an adjustment there.
Yep. Yep.
Um, you need to be open to that sort of feedback and that sort of, I don't want to say criticism, but yeah,
No,
criticism.
yeah, but it's so many. I'm an amateur at this. I'm a professional at making maps, but I'm very much an amateur at designing a game rule system. And but to me, the fun bit was to I have an idea, and then I put down the idea, and I'm thinking in my head this might work, and then I sit down and I run mock combat against myself just to see if the general idea is anything, so to speak. And then I put it together and I invite some players and we sit down and do a test run. I've done what is like 30 test runs and a couple of convention games now. And it's interesting to see how it evolves. Some rules have changed 4 or 5 times, and I haven't changed them in principle, but I've done how to attune it, meaning how tough can it be, so to speak, and stuff. And that's interesting to see that I need to hit harder so we can get the combat done
Right.
faster and stuff like that. And being was like, nah, I need to hold back, and was like, no, come on, hit
Yeah,
hard, so to
It's
speak. Yeah,
it always starts as a thought experiment.
yep.
yeah,
Some of it always
hmm,
starts as a thought experiment,
yeah,
and let's see how Night Shift, which was what launched Elf Lair as a formal company, started that way. I had a blog that was devoted to old school gaming, specifically like OD&D and AD&D stuff. And I did a blog on how to run Buffy the Vampire Slayer using the original white box D&D rules.
hmm,
And Tim Brannon, came to me and went, "Why are we not writing this game? Write this game. Nobody else can write this game. We got to write this game." And I was like, I've told this story a million times too, and people have heard it. So if you've heard this a
Oh,
thousand
that's
times,
cool. I haven't heard it. Yeah.
no, me
I
neither.
told him, I
Yeah,
said, I have so much going on right now. I have stuff for Troll Lord. At the time, I was doing some stuff for Goodman Games. I can't take on another project right now. He went, "Yeah, I hear you." But Tim knows me, and he knew that as soon as he said that to me, the wheels were going to start turning.
Right.
So a week and a half later, I had the rules 90% knocked out. And I messaged him back and I went, "All right, you got me." I said, "If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. I'm going to make Elf Lair Games an LLC. We're going to do a Kickstarter. We're going to do a proper hardcover release." And he went, "Great, let's do it."
Yeah.
So um, that's how Night Shift came about. It all came about from me doing a thought experiment for how to use original Dungeons and Dragons to run Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that led to my whole company with the
That's so
ogre system,
awesome.
the rules, and yeah. So it always starts that way. It always
hmm,
starts with something that's a neat thought experiment. But I will say, as you're getting into the point where you're play testing your own rules with your groups, find somebody else to run the game and you play it.
yes, that was
Don't
one of
run
my
your
yeah.
own
Hmm.
playtest, because if you're running your own playtest, you are going to skip things that you shouldn't skip because there'll be something
Yep.
that you didn't write in the rules.
Yep.
You don't notice that you didn't write
Mhm.
it in the rules because in your head you know how it works.
Yep.
Whereas if you're playing it and somebody else is running it, that person will say to you, "Well, wait a second.
It's a good
How am I
recommendation.
supposed to?"
Yep.
So I have three guys that I've been gaming with for decades, who are my playtest GMs, and they
Mhm.
always run my games when I'm
Yep. For
writing.
me, that will be going to beta. Alpha is me figuring out stuff. And once I think that, okay, I'm happy running it, then I need to write it so someone else can understand it properly, so to speak.
And also experiencing your game from the player's standpoint is invaluable
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
hashing things out.
Yeah.
You get to see what it feels like
Yeah.
to be, because you're gonna power game your own game.
Oh, yeah.
When
Yeah.
you write a character for your game, you won't intend to do it, but you know exactly all the optimal
Hmm.
shit to put together. So you're gonna do it, and you'll very quickly find out
Hmm.
if
You'll be good at breaking your own game. Yeah.
right.
You have to try.
Right.
Yep.
Like, are the other players at the table getting really pissed off at me because I
Hmm.
created a computer hacker that manages to run away with every session before they get to do anything?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
um,
That's great advice. Yep. Hmm.
All right, Jason. So as we're coming up on time here, what do you want to shout out that's coming out? Or
um,
Yeah.
honestly, that CD8 thing that I talked about,
okay,
it's coming out pretty soon. I like I said, I can't. It'll be a few weeks before I get the
okay,
my hard copies that I are my prototypes, to look through and play. It's already been play tested. I know it works. I just want to get it and look through it, and then it'll go up on Drive Through RPG. And again, just my holiday sale right now.
yeah, crazy if you
Printing
guys don't take
printing
advantage of it.
13 parsecs hit me hard in the bank account, even with the successful crowdfunding campaign. So please get in there, buy some stuff off my website, buy some stuff off of Drive Through RPG. Um, yeah, that's the big thing is the big holiday sale and the CD8, and of
Awesome.
course again Amazing Adventures. I mean, it's from what Steve and Chuck tell me, it's selling really well. Let's keep it selling really well. There's more stuff coming for it on the horizon, and I'm really excited. I love the new printing. I'm really excited about what we have in store for that one. So um,
We'll
yeah,
see, and Hannah and I will see you in like 3 to 4 weeks
Yeah.
yeah,
at
yep, I'll be
Page.
there.
And the
Yeah.
whole
It's a
crew.
month. Yep.
And I don't know if anybody's going to GaryCon in March.
Oh yeah.
I
Mhm.
will be there at GaryCon as Elf Lair Games, not
Okay.
with
Oh,
Promo.
cool. And you
But
will have your own booth?
I have my own booth. Yeah. I want to let everybody know though that if you pick up Amazing Adventures or you bring your copies of Amazing Adventures, I'm more than happy to talk Amazing Adventures or sign Amazing Adventures, even though I'm there as Elf Lair.
Yeah.
I'm still one of the trolls from Troll
Yeah.
Lord, even though
That's
I'm there as
awesome.
Elf Lair
Yep.
Games.
So, Jason, we have about 100 people watching right now. I guarantee you 50% of them will be at GaryCon. That's how
Mhm.
many. Yeah, we have a ton of people going from the community. Absolutely.
So
It's going to be a fantastic con coming up there in March.
I love Gary Con, man. It's my favorite
Mhm.
con. It's my
Yep.
absolute favorite con. I love it.
It
Love it.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really grew on me and now it's I love it. Yeah. Definitely the best. Yeah.
So, Anna, you got anything going on you want to shout out?
Yeah, I can. I just posted the geo package for my top patrons with all the GIS data for all the whole Flannies and Hepmona land. So the first version. So now the top patrons can download and make their own version of it and stuff. It will be available for everybody down in the spring and stuff
Yep, here it
when
is.
I have when I've had my so I'm going to do a bunch of a first generation of proper digital maps using this, and then I will in spring there will be a series of print maps for print that you will be able to print by yourself, download the PDF and print it, or you can have them printed at Noble Dwarf if you want to. So I will see if I can target I don't know exactly the sizes. I will look into prices. I want to be able to design a map that could be printed for 99 bucks and simply see what kind of we can cram in for stuff. So I bet there will be regional maps and hopefully a full Flynese map or something. But it depends on the how big it can be for that price, and so there will be a bunch of different ones. But now I'm going to also take the tap until Christmas and do some other cool little stuff. Thank you. Yeah, there's history prophecy. Yeah, there's more heraldry and stuff. So now I'm going to sit down and do some Christmas specials and holiday extra stuff. So I'm going to take probably about 10 days or so and just sit and have fun, do things that I put on the side back burner that I haven't done yet. So there will be some Iusian stuff, there will be more heraldry, there will be some other cool stuff coming up
Cool.
that I've been sitting half done or three-quarters done, and just because I wanted the GIS project, the first version of this, to be shipped, so to speak, because I've been working on that for 5-6 years. So now I have the base of the base map and all the existing content converted into GIS. That has been an enormous undertaking. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of data points, hundreds of thousands, and all the roads, all the borders, and all of that. It's geo-referenced and it's now put in. That's been a gigantic effort, but it's been in there. So now I can build on that, and you can build on it too. So eventually it will be available on my website. I will see if I can get a geo server set up and a whole bunch of stuff in the future. So you can have a Google
Crazy.
Earth. Yep. So stuff like that it is. So it's coming. So now it's out on beta test, so to speak, the first geo package, and there will be a
Beautiful.
first set of maps. So that has been the biggest undertaking. So I'm just thank you everyone who supported me in all these months when and a couple of years when that has been like half half my time has been devoted to do things that have been had an horizon of 5 years. But that's a lot of projects are like that. So now I'm going to move into to do the print maps and some other stuff, and I'm going to make the new detailed maps. So now I'm going to move in and do the Shieldlands is halfway done, and I'm moving into Horn Society and a bunch of others, and I want to present them in full glory, meaning at 5 foot per pixel, porta potty scale. So yeah, and they will tie
Terabytes.
into some other projects that we're working on too. So yeah. So
Awesome.
that, yep. So that's basically what's going on, so to speak. So there will be some goodies being dropped in the next up until Christmas and New Year's. I will drop a couple of times a week or something. I will drop new cool stuff.
Excellent. All right, we're going to keep on busy. Another 4 stream week coming up. Wednesday night we'll have Legends and Lore. We haven't figured the topic out yet. You know how we're always behind on that.
Yeah,
And
Mike has a little list. We picked
yeah, we'll
something
figure
from
that one out.
Yep.
Thursday we'll continue Banditry Rivals, which we had last week, with my group and a couple special guests. And then next Saturday at 9 a.m., I got a whole special group. One of the worst named adventure groups, Nuclear Meets back. Dark Depths. So I got Coco, Bird, Mark, and Rachel from Marquee, Sir Timothy and Corrigan. That one that'll be at 9. It's a 9 a.m. game on Saturday morning. Our 9 we had our game yesterday was at 1 to 5. That was crazy. I really appreciate all the support. And then Gabbin next week, 3 days before Christmas. What's better than having that Greenwood on? So Ed's back. You know, we'll talk about legendary stories of Greyhawk and the Realms next week. But even better, we have our date for our 7th annual St. Jude fundraiser set. And here we go. The Undead Tumult's the name this year. All right, there you go. February 20th to the 23rd. Goal is to surpass last year, $26,200 raised last year, and we'll go over $100,000 this year with the group in year 7. So it's actually a little more than that because we didn't have the Greyhawk group together. That started year 3. So, yep. Yeah, so just note there'll be a lot of great special guests and all. A lot of channels participating. I'm working on the details now, but that is and look at the great background Anna did on that. So, first time we're showing that. So, that'll be between Paige and Gary Con. So, just getting commitments from some big names. Luke thinks he's in.
Awesome.
And some other, yeah, so, yeah. All right. Let's do the giveaway, and then we'll get out right in. Jason, thanks. Any other things you'd like to say in closing? Man, it was a great discussion.
I don't really have anything else to add. Just
Oh,
thanks for having me on.
Of
It's been a
course.
it's always fun to do these sorts of things and talk gaming and talk
hmm
sci-fi and horror and all that good stuff and meet new people.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's
All right.
great. Thanks.
The winner, so the big winner is XT Candy. All right, that's the big winner, and the second winner is Alex Antiquitous for the PDF.
Oh, awesome.
XT
Congratulations
Candy,
to
I need you.
both. Yeah.
XT Candy, as long as you're on to claim, I see Alex is already on. Because if you're not on to claim, then let me see. Yep, XT, I see you in chat. So I need your full name and address, XT. I may have an email. I may have the email, but I need the full name and address. And Alex, I think I have your email. Just resend it to me, and I'll make sure I get them to Jason for the winners. I know you're there, Alex. All right. So there we go. Got our winners for your and very kind of you, Jason. Thank you very much.
Sure thing, and congratulations to the winners. I hope you
Yeah,
guys like the game.
absolutely. Great people there. Yes, enjoy. We'll see everyone Wednesday night. We're going to raid into Marquee Gaming because Darling is under weather and not streaming tonight, she told me. So we're going to go in to see Rachel and Mark, who will be playing Saturday 9 a.m. in the group, in the Nuclear Meat group. So, yep, thank you. All right, we'll see you all soon. Let me hit. I haven't hit a wrong. Have I hit a wrong button yet, Anna? I don't think I have tonight.
No, not
Wow,
tonight.
that's crazy.
So, yeah.
Normally, I normally do. So, yeah, thank you, Shattered Saint.
Thank you.
And
Yep.
everyone sit tight for the raid in. Please say hello to Marquis, and we'll see you in a couple days. And Jason, thanks. You're welcome on any time if you want any topics you want to discuss. Maybe we'll get Tim and you
Right.
back together. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah,
And
I'm happy to come on anytime you want to have me.
awesome.
Thanks.
Sounds good. If you know, we're going to do some things on rating top adventures of all time for Greyhawk and some other settings. So
Cool. I love
yeah.
Greyhawk.
Cool. Very good. Very good. I'll let you know. We're trying to make sure Eric Mona is available for that. And then Eric and Gary Julian and whoever. And I
Nice.
think Eric Boyd will be available for that. And yeah, we'll get some of those main people involved. So, all right, we'll see you all soon. Have a good one. All right, let me set the
Bye.
raid up in. Woo! Raid. Am I going to hit a wrong button? Probably. All right, going into the Marquee Gaming. Oh. 60. All right, look at this. Going in with, all right, 76. That's awesome. 76 going in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you Wednesday. Have a good one. Just make sure the raid went. Awesome. Marquee will be at GaryCon as well. There's a lot of people